Well, so it's crowd control. Let's face it. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, May 7th, 2015. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 719er.
This is No Agenda.
Drenched from DeMaio and broadcasting live from the Crackpot condo in FEMA Region 6 in Austin, Tejas. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley up here in the Tower of Terror, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
All right, here's a little tip. If you want to say you're coming from the Tower of Terror, you got to sound a little bit like it.
Tower of Terror.
It was a throwaway. It's like, Tower of Terror. I'm here.
Well, there's a lot of garbage trucks floating around, so it's pretty terrifying.
I'm in my Tower of Terror, I guess, once
it's
again.
It's a Tower of Terror.
Yeah, it's going to rain all week here. It's actually been raining.
No,
Yeah,
send it our way.
Monsoons, yeah. I went, I went to see the play LBJ All the Way here at the Zach Theater in Austin.
Why would they even show that play?
Why?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because it's a Tony Award-winning play, that's why. Or nominated, maybe nominated.
Did they really display show LBJ as the douchebag that he was?
You know, I have to say they came pretty close. He's also endearing in a way, but first of all, the play is really good. I have to say, I like it, like the way they've done the set. The two main actors, Martin Luther King and LBJ, dynamite. Neither of them from Austin, of course. You know, they get these guys from out of state. I think the guy who plays Martin Luther King is from New York. Actually, I talked to both of them after the show. That's how community theater. That's how small town theater works. Yeah. Hey, we'll see you in the bar afterwards.
What's the size of the auditorium?
Oh, it's pretty big. I don't know exactly how big the Zach Theater is, but it's not. It's a good theater. I've been there many times.
What's the name of it?
Zach, Z-A-C-H. Zach
That's
Theater.
The name of the theater?
It's like the Toppler Theater, just Zach Austin. Anyway, the play does a number of things, I think, really well. It shows how J. Edgar Hoover, when he was running the FBI, was doing everything illegally, including recording the King's extramarital trysts, as well as those of LBJ. They also brought up Gulf of Tonkin.
What's his name? Our guy that just quit, Holder, just say that he was reinvigorating the FBI, so it was like the olden days of a blackmailing operation.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly where it
said, right?
Yeah, so in the play, it's all that the FBI is, and they really put it as a good portrayal of Hoover as well. But the thing that was annoying, because we had such horrible weather, completely drenched before I got into theater, is you turn off your cell phone or people put them on silent. But, of course, this stupid Apple has, by default, the severe or emergency government weather alerts. And so, and I swear to God, I'm sitting there watching this play, and I hear something like, oh, that sounds almost like the emergency broadcast system. That's interesting, because they played a lot of historical clips. They had a screen come down. It was well done that way. But I'm like, well, the screen isn't here, but I can hear the emergency broadcast system. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is the iPhone weather alert, and at least 8 different people had this go off during the play. Idiots. And what does it say?
Most people, they have this thing. They don't know. They turned it off.
True.
They did their thing. They turned off the...
Well, they should turn off the whole phone, really, just to make sure.
Can you do that with the Apple?
Yeah. Well, it's always on a little bit spying on you, but at least you can turn it off so it won't do anything to you. It was like, what? This is so stupid. Anyway, here's the one thing that really caught my eye, or my ear, eye, both. 3 times in this play, 3 times I heard a very famous line, verbatim, and this is the line.
What difference at this point does it make?
3 different times this exact sentence was uttered in the play.
With the words at
yes,
this point?
at this point, what difference does it? Wait a minute. It was. She says, "Hold on.
What difference at this point
does it make?" Yes, 3 times.
Exactly the same.
Exactly that way. Because I shot up like, what?
Huh.
And at one time it was LBJ. One time it was LBJ. One time it was, I think, Hubert Humphrey. Is that his name?
Hubert Humphrey?
Yeah, Hubert Humphrey. Was that him?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hubert Humphrey. And I think
But
it was definitely all white guys in the play who were saying this. It was just one of those things. Like,
Martin
really?
Luther King never said that.
No, not that I can recall. No. And it was just one of those things. I was sitting like, what?
That's a very funny structure, too.
That's why it's so obvious.
Because normally you would say, I think.
What difference does it make at this point? That's how you'd say it.
That's one way.
Or at this point, what difference does it make? But what difference at this point does it make? That structure was
odd.
Very odd.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the unintended consequences of technology ruining stuff.
Yeah, well, that's never going to end.
No,
I mean, they could make it legal. I don't see why they don't. I know some people do it illegally.
What? Do what?
Run
a jammer?
A jammer in the.
This is not a good idea. This is not a good idea.
Why?
Well,
it's not a good idea.
I'll tell you why. When we were there,
what happened before the era of cell phones? When you go to the theater, there was no cell phones. This is equivalent of a jammer. It'd be the same thing today.
Yes, but you'll recall someone had a heart attack one of the times that we're there, and it was there, and it was good that people could use their cell phones to call 911 because otherwise, it could be a minute longer before someone would go get the landline. How do I get an outside line? Do I dial 9 or 0? Oh, he's dead. Oh well. Thanks for your jammer, Dvorak.
You could turn the jammer off if somebody has a heart attack.
But it takes justice. Who's the guy who knows how to turn off the jammer? Come on, you understand.
The guy who turned it on.
And we have some proclamations and 2 big misses, I think, from our current president. By presidential proclamation, it is National Teacher Appreciation Week 2015, along with, coincidentally, National Charter Schools Week. It's kind of a dichotomy in terms, in a way. Missing from the lineup, and I checked again this morning, the president has not proclaimed officially, although it is mentioned everywhere, as it being National Police Week. Find that strange that he's missing that. And National Nurse Week. Why doesn't he?
He wasn't mentioned that either?
No. Now, Nurse Week is strange because it starts... It started Wednesday. It goes from Wednesday to Wednesday. Of course, nurses, work through the weekend. And Cop Week, when did that start? I don't know. It's strange. I don't understand why the president does it. So I guess these aren't official then. They just said no good. You're no good.
No idea.
Yeah, you're no good, people.
Well, I spent a little. Well, actually, now you mentioned, I can't find something, and I'm asking now for help.
Okay, call for help.
I could look again, but I don't think I'm going to. I can't find SR 173, Senate Resolution 173 from the 114th. It has to be from the 114th. Senate Resolution 173 comes up every year.
Are you ready? Imhoff?
Yeah.
President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of SR 173.
Is this what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. My new system. Play the whole clip?
Yeah.
The clerk will report.
Okay.
Senate Resolution.
Huh?
Stop. They've been doing these. They were ramming through these without a quorum, ramming through these little resolutions, just one after the other. There was 170, 171, 172, but this 173 is the one that caught my attention because before 173, they would say, "Would the clerk read the thing?" And they would go, "Senate Resolution 142, adding a new post office to the ranks of blah blah blah." Then 162, 165,
right?
To reinstall, something or other. This one here, listen and tell me what you think my complaint is.
So we're playing the new clip here, right?
The same one you were playing.
Okay.
Senate Resolution 173.
I ask that the clerk dispense with the reading.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Okay, you can stop.
Good to go, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what he said, but no objection.
This is the last time I heard anything this ramming it through to such an extreme that they wouldn't let you read the title.
Yeah, there's something going on. So
Something's going on.
Did you look it
this
up?
happened when Harry Reid came up and rammed through the NDAA in the dark of night. Very similar. No quorum. Play the other Imhoff clip, the one where they slammed down counting the number of people that are there. Let's see.
Mr. President.
The senator from Oklahoma.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum call now in progress be vitiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate be in a period of morning business with senators permitting to speak up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
And, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to an immediate consideration of... stand by. I think I got the wrong information here.
Hungover, Mr. President.
Well, anyway, they're ramming this. But anyway, 170. So I look at government.gov, whatever it is, and the Senate bills and the Senate resolutions and the Senate.
Gov.gov, yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I look and look and look. I can't find anything about SR 173. There's a lot of old bills.
Yeah.
But nothing from the 114th Congress.
Okay.
What is it?
I don't know.
Somebody out there help me.
Okay. I am not familiar with SR 173. We'll look into it for sure.
It wouldn't bother me if they just say the title.
You know,
It's probably something stupid. There's a bunch of 173s that have come and gone that are idiotic. So, declared peanut, the national peanut, kind of thing.
Let me see. The chat room has found something already, so I shall check this out.
Make sure it's the 114th. That's the problem.
It's 114th. And it says, oh, that's interesting. No results match. Hold on. How can that be?
Well, that's not finding much, is it?
Hold on a second.
Chat room strikes again.
No, I think it has to do with how it's showing up in something we need to look into.
All right. Anyway, so that's our job. That's our action points. What are they called?
Action item. Action item for the list.
Action item.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go right away. This is kind of out of order, not what we typically do. But I found an announcement from Google that they have acquired this company called Timeful. And
Timeful?
Timeful, yes.
You mean like Time Full, F-U-L?
Yes, Timeful.
Timeful.
And yeah,
name.
And Timeful is going to be integrated into, it's a standalone product. It'll be integrated into Gmail. And what it does is, well, I have it here. What does it do? Oh, wait.
What does it do, Adam?
What does it do? Well, it manages your time and your emails accordingly.
Accordingly to what?
To priorities that it learns automatically from you and turns it into lists.
Oh, God.
Lists. Now,
this will not work.
Wait.
The people who need these lists are so disorganized that the thing will never it'll blow up.
So I go to I go check out this outfit, Timeful, and they have a video on their website which explains what they do at Timeful. And so it's kind of a living room setting, which looks like one of those, like a hip San Francisco. What's that district where we used to be with Pod Show? And that little enclave there. South Park, right? South Park.
The South Park Soma bullcrap thing. It's displayed in the show Silicon Valley. Everything takes place in these little living rooms.
Yes. Bingo. You got it. And so it's all the employees, and there's a female employee on the ground, and there's a couple of kids, crawling, not really toddlers. And she's reading them a story, which was so... I was like, okay, is this what you're doing? Pre-programming our kids into little robots? Listen to the story of Frog and Toad.
The story is called A List.
And it's called The List.
One morning, Toad sat in bed. I have many things to do, he said. I will write them all down on a list so that I can remember them. Toad wrote on a piece of paper, a list of things to do today. Then he wrote, wake up. I have done that, said Toad, and he crossed out, wake up.
You get the idea? This is a book, and it's a real book she's reading, that are teaching kids how to manage their lives with lists, like get up and then cross that one off the list after you've done it. And these kids are like drooling.
He got out of bed and had something to eat. Then Toad crossed out, eat breakfast. He opened the door and walked out into the morning. Soon, Toad was at Frog's front door. He took the list out from his pocket and crossed out, go to Frog's house.
What are these kids, morons?
Well, they will be.
Eat breakfast. Oh, I got to eat breakfast. So I'm going to have. Well, let me get this straight. So these a-holes are going to have set me up so my life will be the following. Wake up, something I cross off the list. Okay, I think I've woken up. I don't think I need to cross it off any list. It shouldn't be on a list. It's impossible. It's stupid. And then eat breakfast, cross it off the list. Oh, yeah, I can't remember that I ate breakfast.
Well,
I have to have a list telling me I ate breakfast
but
and
also,
cross it off the list.
You went to your buddy's house and you crossed that off the list. What else should you do when you go see your friend on the list? Maybe open door or something?
I don't know. Let's
Toad
hear
knocked
more
at the door.
from this.
Hello, said Frog. Look at my list of things to do, said Toad. Oh, said Frog, and they decided to finish the list together.
Oh, okay.
Frog and Toad went on a long walk. There was a strong wind. It blew the list out of Toad's hand.
Oh, no! Oh, not the list!
The list blew high up into the air. Frog ran after the list, but the list blew on and on. At last, Frog came back to Toad. I am sorry, gasped Frog.
Uh-oh. I think there's a moral to this story,
Oh,
John.
I thought they were going to catch the list and then they were going to cross off catch list.
But I could not catch your list. Blah, said Toad. I cannot remember any of the things that were on my list of
I'm
things.
an idiot.
Yeah. I don't even need to play the
Well,
rest.
did they get the backup off of Google?
What?
Things to do. I will just have to sit here and do nothing, said Toad.
Oh, I can't do anything without the list.
I'm an idiot without a list telling me what to do.
I think they should call Child Protective Services on this Timeful outfit.
You know, there are some people that obey lists. I've encouraged people to write lists for other people that need to obey lists, but they don't pay any attention to me.
Well, I have to say I'm quite worried that this whole initiative is all about obeying the list.
You will obey. You will obey. You will obey.
Toad sat and did nothing. Frog sat with him.
Oh.
After a long time, Frog said, Toad, it is getting dark. We should be going to sleep now.
This is bad news.
Go to sleep, shouted Toad. That was the last thing on my list.
It was on my list.
Toad wrote on the ground with a stick, go to sleep. Then he crossed out, go to sleep.
Well, how could he do that? Makes no sense.
Hey, he had a
Just
stick.
because
He had a
it says go to sleep and you cross it out. Did you go? What if you didn't go to sleep?
Yeah, then he lied to the list.
Apparently.
There,
List liar.
said Toad. Now my day is all crossed out. I am glad,
I can now go to bed.
said Frog. Then Frog and Toad went right to sleep.
And then what? Look, the kids are all happy now. That is great. That's
That
great.
was on the website.
That's the only thing on their website.
I wonder if they got permission to read from that book.
Well, I think they wrote it themselves. I don't believe
Oh,
this.
okay.
Yeah, I think they created this.
Give themselves permission.
Yeah.
Then they could, after they gave themselves permission, they could cross it off the list.
Yes. Yes. I know.
I've tried working with lists. I do it. I write
This
lists.
whole show is built on lists.
I tell people to meme me every once in a while. Oh, I didn't do this. I forgot to do that. I was going to tell you something. I said, make a list. It's not a big deal. People do make lists. It does come in handy once in a while. Go to the grocery store, come home, and you go, oh, I forgot something. You didn't bring a list, did
That's
you?
right. Nope.
So lists are good
Yep. Lists.
for certain uses, but not to cross off every
Wake
damn
up, have breakfast.
shit thing you do all
Well,
day.
we'll see what happens when this is integrated into the Gmail. It should be interesting.
Well, luckily I don't use Gmail except to send clips. And then I have it right here. Clips. Send clips. Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah. Send clips.
Sent clips.
The most disappointing thing in these past few days, with everything going on, there's a lot of stuff, and I feel like we're over. What?
Well, I was going to say, since you were on the little tech stuff there, before you went there, I was going to introduce.
Oh, okay, sure.
I have been watching Ignite
What is this?
2015.
What is this?
It's the big confab Microsoft's got going on in Chicago. It ends, I think, tomorrow.
What is the point of Ignite? Is it
Ignite is to show all these it's just kind of for developers or IT professionals to get it's to listen to the way I see it. This is what I excellent presentations. There's no question about it. It's a beautiful event. They do a terrific job. They got a little TV show in between, and they have almost everything's been recorded, and you can go back and what's cool about the stream, which I'm going to tell people about if they're going to do streaming, and I can think of an operation nearby that does streaming, and they don't do this. They should. The stream kind of comes to you buffered, like pre-buffered, so you're seeing live, but if you go to look at the bar, an hour previous to live is on there that you could skim back. You can skim the thing back.
Which may just be an optical illusion or an interface illusion. However, it's buffered somehow so you can get it. I don't think it's on your machine instantaneously.
I don't think it's on the machine either. Whatever the case, and I said that again, you can go back and you turn it on. There's a presentation going on, and who is this guy? And you can back it up to where the guy began to talk. And I find that very good. Yeah. Most of the Ignite event, though, seem to have a little bit too much of this. Play MSFT Ignite.
Okay, good afternoon. Firstly, my name's Ruben Krippner, Director of Product Management on the OneDrive team. Secondly, I need a change of underwear because the Wi-Fi dropped on the demo machine about 45 seconds ago. So it was going to be a very quick session considering most of my session is demo related. So
don't say that, Dick. That's
every time. Yeah, every time somebody gave it, the cloud was everybody. You're talking to a group of everybody online.
Now, a question. This is different than a developer conference they had last week?
Yeah, this is different.
So but it's also developers? Or is
Mostly IT professionals that the health going on so they can plan.
Right. This is where the real party is because they're buyers.
To me, this was a more major event.
Yeah, they're buyers, so they get the hookers.
And I'm watching it, and I really came to appreciate OneDrive after this guy's demo. He did get his Wi-Fi connection back, but they were failing left and right. This is the cloud for you. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But okay, we're stuck with it. And so I got because he walked you through all the features and the new stuff that they're slipstreaming in and what they're going to do. Microsoft, this is where they announced they're not going to do Patch Tuesday anymore. They're just going to keep inundating you with patches all 24/7. Which is good to know, but I wrote a column about this saying that this is like, and I cited you as an example. I said this is what the Apple guys do. They just slipstream these changes in, and what it does is if you have anything that is kind of custom tuned for what was, it doesn't work anymore. And I specifically mentioned the No Agenda show and cited what happens to you about once every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, and it's not. And of course, you can decide not to take your updates, but
I think you can with Microsoft too.
Yeah, and I do. I have it
a lot of failures. And then I started looking at some of the stuff they were showing and demoing. I said, I'm always so critical of this company, and you listen to these guys.
Time to turn over a new leaf, you thought to yourself.
I was thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And then I realized.
And then nah, I don't think so.
I was thinking about it. Then I started really listening to some of these presentations, and it's Microsoft all over again, version 3. It's here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. Look at this. Look how this is going to work next year. And they were showing all these tremendous features and products that are just dynamite. But none of this stuff is in play. It's all coming. And that's Microsoft.
That's interesting. I was watching Bloomberg TV, and the main reason to watch Bloomberg is this girl, Alex Steele. Have you ever seen her?
No, but I'll look.
Alex with an I, Alix Steele, which is a DJ name if I ever heard one. Hey, everybody, Alex Steele with you. How you doing? It's time to talk about lithium. And the segment, which is a long segment, you can find it in the show notes, 719er.noagendanotes.com, findable via archive.noagendanotes.com. The whole segment is about the Gigafactory, Tesla Power's Gigafactory. And this girl apparently knows a lot about how lithium is made. And the question was, will there be a shortage of lithium? And the current technology is, well, I'll play the current technology, how lithium is made. I was just interested in how that, I didn't know that this is what it takes to get some lithium. And the question is, of course, if you're turning out 1 billion lithium cells, ultimately, which is why it's called the Gigafactory or the Gigaplex, whatever they're calling it.
Well, it's called the Gigafactory because of the size is going to be 1 million square feet. That's the reason.
She says in this, which I don't think I have on the clip, is that it was Giga because it was going to be 1 billion batteries. I'm just repeating what she said. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't believe that's true.
And And it does take, well, here, listen to lithium production.
Right. So in terms of the actual reserves that they know is there, that's 13 million tons. So there is enough out there. It just takes quite a long time to get it out. It takes about 5 years. Every 5 years, about 1 to 2 projects wind up coming on stream. It takes about a year and a half to about 2 years to actually get the lithium out of brine, which is basically salty water. The sun has to sit on it for 2 years for it to evaporate. Then you take the lithium, and then you have to add a lot of stuff to it, and then you pound it into what winds up looking like cocaine.
God.
Wait a minute. What?
What? You pound it and it starts looking like what?
Right, you stepped on it. Hold on.
Oreos are just as addictive as cocaine.
A lot of stuff to it, and then you pound it into what winds up looking like cocaine.
Oh, that explains it. I was wondering why I was down instead of up, snorting lithium.
What?
This is how, that's what she said. That's how lithium is made.
So you pound it.
You pound it. You pound it until it looks like cocaine. Then you know it's done. Good to go.
Well,
send it off to Texas, to the Gigafactory.
Lithium is a metal. It's like sodium.
Which is a salt.
Look at the periodic chart to make sure I'm not saying something stupid.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter because they will say you're stupid anyway on the Reddit. Just kidding. Just kidding.
It's true.
Not always.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
I know.
Yeah, it's elemental 3. Hold on a second.
And of all the things she could have said looks like baking soda, looks like salt.
Baking soda's fine. No, she said cocaine. Yes.
Which is a tell, I think, on her part. Hello, Alex Steele.
It's the lightest metal. It is a metal, and it's the least dense solid element. Like all alkali metals, lithium is highly reactive and flammable. Sodium, which we never had when you take it. Nowadays, people, STEM.
Science, technology, engineering, and math, yes.
When I was a kid, we used to have chemistry sets.
Hold on a second. I want to do something when you say this. I find it to be important. Hold on a sec. Okay, say it again. When I was a kid.
When I was a kid.
All right, there we go. We're back.
We used to be able to buy chemistry sets.
Yes, I had them.
They used to be some of very elaborate. I had a pretty big one. A friend of mine who wanted to get a big one, his parents were more conservative and didn't like the idea of him having all these dangerous chemicals because you could blow up the house if you really had a good set. Good.
Yeah. By the time I had my set, it was no good.
That was because they took them off the market.
No, I still had a set early on. It's just there was nothing.
But they didn't have the good stuff in
I had sulfur. I had sodium pentothal. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's
sodium. No, you wouldn't know. Sodium pentothal. It wouldn't be in a chemistry set. Well, maybe you had a different kind of chemistry.
You never know. What was I doing?
Some bamboo things you could stick under fingernail, some sodium pentothal.
To make them tell the truth.
Lie detector kit. Yeah, sure.
I wonder why my parents gave me that kit.
Different parents. Whatever and I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
I had a real chemistry set, and you could blow things up and have a lot of fun with it. Yeah. And it's probably toxic in some ways.
Particularly with sulfur. If you had sulfur, then you could do some cool stuff.
But now, no, you can't do that. You can't. So kids can't do any experimentation. They can't do anything at home because it's too dangerous. And so we're pushing STEM, but we're really not. We're pulling back from it. And the best example is the story from Salem, Oregon. That just, I don't have a clip for it, but I just have the story.
Yeah.
No charges for teacher arrested after a Tesla coil burn. Now, what the teacher did was he was showing kids some physics and had a Tesla coil, and I didn't know this.
Hold on a second. Is Tesla even approved material for today's slavelets?
The Tesla coil, the thing that has all the sparks?
No, I know what a Tesla coil is, but Tesla, of course, holds a lot of the secrets. They're actually allowing these children to investigate Tesla? I'm shocked.
Arrest the teacher.
Well, yeah, there you go.
What the teacher did was he created a little gimmicky electrical discharge that would kind of singe in some very minor way the skin.
Yeah.
And he had made a kind of a template that said Happy Mother's Day with a heart that they could go home and show their mom. And it would go away after about 2 or 3 days, but it looked like it wasn't like a tattoo. I don't know exactly what these look like.
It's a very light, it's probably more a carbon deposit than a burn.
Yeah, something like that. And so you hit like, Mom, and Happy Mother's Day. And they arrested the guy.
Amen. Fist bump.
Good work.
This is STEM. This is where STEM is headed. A guy is showing kids something very interesting. They like it. They're having a good time. STEM. The STEM police come out and arrest the guy. They throw him in the slammer.
STEM police.
So hilarious because they're STEM, and then and that same thing with the chemistry says. That's why how I kind of made that segue. You can't do STEM in this country because kids are kept away from science.
Yes, of course. All right, let's come back to the future, or to the present, I should say. Here we are. All right, we're back from your being a kid. Good work.
Yeah. Well,
I was very upset this week. I mean, not really like totally upset, but I was surprised and in a way upset. Of all the things going on, all the things we can talk about, my Obama bot friends, without fail, 4 of them, all said...
Well, hold on.
I have 4.
All is the operative word. You could have been 10, could have been 3, could have been 2. All is the operative word. It's always going to be all.
Okay. Yes, you're right. 4 of them...
Pointing out your redundancy.
Yes. 4 of them, which is the maximum amount of Obama bots I know in Austin, emailed me with a query about some newsworthy item. Can you guess what it is?
Well, if it was somebody on the ball, they'd probably be querying you about the British elections.
Let me think. No. Nope. Come on.
Hillary.
No.
I don't know.
David Goldberg.
What about David Goldberg?
Sheryl Sandberg's husband, who died in his...
about Goldberg dropping dead.
So without fail, what do you think really happened?
Oh, please.
Oh, yeah. And because of that, I decided to dive in. Because no one else is doing it, so I might as well.
Oh, you might as well, because I wasn't going to.
Right. And...
before you go on, I do have some friends they're not pure blood Obama bots, but there are one's a progressive and the other one's a kind of a loosely structured Democrat. And a little email thing went around about this guy.
Yeah.
One of them suggesting some foul play. Mm-hmm. And it went back and forth because one of the people in this exchange, ex-wife's husband dropped dead in a gym.
Mm-hmm. Of a cardiac arrest, probably.
Of a cardiac arrest. He was pedaling away and then just dropped dead. Massive failure type death.
Right.
And a friend of mine, I threw this into the conversation and the whole conversation disappeared after this. A friend of mine who used to work at PC Magazine as one of the editors, and he was in his mid-40s, I believe, and an exercise nut, and he used to work in the Pentagon. Mm-hmm. He was fit. And he's doing his daily jog and has a massive heart attack right in the middle of it. And I ran into him shortly after this. Mm-hmm. He was shook by this, by the way. It was a wreck. He looked like crap because he says, well, I do everything right. I don't know why I had a heart attack. I would have, and he tells me he would have died except that he was jogging with his cardiologist. By coincidence. That helps.
That's funny.
Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so for people to this to be the reason why, of course, is he dropped dead or he's dead, and there was no reason given for maybe 36 hours. That took too long. And
Mexico, wasn't he?
Yes, in Mexico.
You expect,
right? And so this gave, of course, because it's Sheryl Sandberg, it was on the big news everywhere. Oh, it's so sad, and not a mention of anything. Of course, because it took so long, there was like he committed suicide, all these different things. Because I received this request from 4, the maximum amount possible of Obama bots, I would like to give them I did some research on their behalf. Not that they donate to the show, but on their behalf, I did some research. So there's really 3 possibilities based upon my research, of which I feel one is certainly interesting. The first one, of course, is he went to the little gym room. He got on the treadmill and somehow maybe he fainted and then fell backwards because it was massive head trauma, according to the official reports. And he had hypovolemic shock. Are you familiar with this?
No.
It means,
tell me.
It means a fluid was so depleted in your body that your body goes into shock and you die. And in this case, it would be he was bleeding out from the head. So that's pretty major. That's a big wound. And there was some information that came out. So that's totally possible. That is the story. Totally possible that happened. Now, here are the things that there's some discrepancies and some things that were interesting, and that's why I kind of the second thing I did is I looked at his company, SurveyMonkey, and could there have been some kind of dispute, some kind of lawsuit, anything that could go on. He took the company, raised a whole bunch of money, like I think $500 or $600 million, instead of taking the company public, and that flowed out to initial investors. So he's a little unconventional way of doing things, Silicon Valley wise, but it's a very profitable company. And could there be some bad blood? Here's what I found there. So this would be possibility number 2.
Okay. Only on No Agenda.
Oh yeah. And it's morbid, of course, but it's what people want. So I'm giving it. It's what non-donating douchebags want to hear. So here you go.
Okay,
this is for you. They have 50 cents of each SurveyMonkey survey taken or done. They donate 50 cents to charity. And this is apparently, I've never used SurveyMonkey, but a couple of people I spoke to said, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and the charity they prefer to give to is the Humane Society of America, the HSUS, which is anything but a society for animals. It is a lobbying group. If you have a humane society in your town, there is no connection and very little money ever flows from the Humane Society. It's one of those douchebag groups that we don't.
Yeah, no, I know about this. Yes, they're douchebags,
and there are quite a number of animal rights activists and animal rights groups who are very mad about this 50-cent donation, which adds up to a lot of money. There's only one group I'm more afraid of than pedophile politicians.
Or as I say, pedophile lobbyists.
Yeah, pedophile lobbyists. And that's animal rights activists. They can go nuts, and they can kill anybody. This is well documented. So maybe someone was so pissed off, because I have a ton of links in the show notes for you to look at this back and forth. There's lawsuits. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
One of them could have been at the gym in Mexico because they're caring about animals there, and they saw him, they knew him, they recognized him.
Could be.
They started getting into an argument. He's walking along on the thing, and they say, well, you suck, and they push him backwards, and they crack his head open.
Could be. Or lead pipe to the head. Who knows?
That could be.
We don't know. Of course, it's Mexico. The hypovolemic shock became out with there wasn't even an autopsy done, as far as I know, at that point. Yeah. And we received most of our information from his brother, Robert Goldberg. And the story was David Goldberg went to the gym to work out, and at 7, his brother Robert found him very weak vital signs, and he died.
It was like a hotel gym.
Yes, but they were not. So this was another thing that made it complicated. This Mexican official had said they were at the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons said, nope, no one by Goldberg Sandberg here. So apparently they rented something nearby, but then they have access to the Four Seasons facilities. And then the story changed later.
Let me get this straight. Well, okay.
Just stay with me.
Guys over there saving money and then sneaking into the Four Seasons to use the gym.
No,
that's what I'm seeing.
This is not. No.
That's what
you're missing the obvious. But okay, I'll continue. You're missing the big obvious one.
I am.
But now, of course, just because they're not registered doesn't mean it couldn't be a different name, etc. But then later that turned
using an alias.
Well, stay with me.
Okay,
Mr. Chuckle. Then later the story changed to 6:30 instead of 7 o'clock. I'm not sure why. It's just whenever a half hour changes like that in the official reporting, I was a little interested. Now, what is odd about this? They were on vacation.
Who's they?
Cheryl and husband David.
Oh, Cheryl was with him.
Yes, they were on vacation.
Oh, obviously I didn't follow the story that closely.
And they're on vacation, and then something horrible happens.
What town was that? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
It's okay. It doesn't.
What town were they in?
It doesn't matter.
Is it a resort town where they're vacationing there? Was it secret deals being done?
Do you want to know my theory? Because it's not relevant.
Shut up.
Not relevant.
I'll shut up.
Jeez, it's hard enough for me to get it out. Okay.
Okay. I'm
again. So they're there. Something happens. Then he dies in the hospital, and his brother Robert Goldberg speaks to everyone on the behalf of the family. And
was Goldberg there? Robert Goldberg. He was with them, two of them.
Finally, that's what I said.
Okay.
I said, hold on a second. If they're on vacation, what is Robert Goldberg doing there?
Yeah, is it a threesome maybe? We don't know about?
Oh, I think it's even worse. Let us listen to David Goldberg in conversation with, this may have been Bloomberg, about his family life, work-life balance.
And early on in your relationship, you guys were long distance, right?
Yeah.
Is there any tricks for that? Because I've mentioned a lot of people, like in executives or even lower level, it's not easy to make a long distance relationship work. And you guys were, pretty far apart, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, when we first met, we were both in LA, but we weren't dating then.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cheryl, 6 months after we met, moved to DC, and we never dated at that point in time. But I think certainly I thought about it, but it was sort of like, how are we going to start dating coast to coast between LA and DC? So when we actually did start dating, it was very clear that we had to. We had to be in the same place as much as possible. So
that makes sex easier.
It's the coin flip as to where we were going to live. And so I started commuting. And that's hard, but, as long as you're pretty committed to it, that I live in San Francisco and I just work in LA.
And do you have rules inside the house, or is it just sort of evolved? Did you guys have a sort of rules, a set of rules to dictate that work-life balance?
It's not rules, but I think we have a family calendar, and we sort of plan out what the schedule is, and we book stuff on the shared calendar. That's how we manage stuff, and it all kind of works out in the end.
Okay. Now, so they've had a living together apart relationship for many, many years. And I believe he still commutes, if not all the time, regularly to Los Angeles. And they manage their life with lists and a shared calendar. Sounds great to me.
Oh, yeah. Sexy.
Now, they married in 2004, the same year that Sheryl Sandberg divorced her first husband after 1 year of marriage. There's nothing to find there about that. It didn't work out, but then... So you have to kind of, coming from a number of relationships, marriages, etc., I can say if you're getting divorced in the same year, you're getting married, probably is something going on there. And
that's suspect.
Well,
that means you're having an affair with this guy.
Yeah. Let me read to you from Sheryl Sandberg's book. Quote, when looking for a life partner, my advice to women is to date all of them. The bad boys, the cool boys, the commitment-phobic boys, the crazy boys, but do not marry them. The things that make the bad boys sexy do not make them good husbands. When it comes time to settle down, find someone who wants an equal partner, someone who thinks women should be smart, opinionated, and ambitious, someone who values fairness and expects, or even better, wants to do a share in the home. These men exist, and trust me, over time, nothing is sexier. Take a look at Robert Goldberg's LinkedIn, and you can find it. I should have given you a link, but it's Robert Goldberg. He's in Santa Monica, and I shall read this. I won't read the whole thing, but so he started out in '94 with. And look at his picture, by the way. He's kind of a cross between the Big Lebowski and Randy Quaid in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Is he the president of the Startup Factory?
No.
San Francisco Bay Area? No. Robert Goldberg and Associates, and from Cal State Northridge. You wouldn't be that school.
And he has a picture where he's like doing like a gang sign.
He's doing a gang sign.
Yeah.
But see, the problem is, since you didn't give me a link, I got a million Robert Goldberg. Is
Robert Goldberg and what is it? GMG Entertainment.
That's not going to help.
Okay. Well,
GMG Entertainment might help.
Gold Marketing Group. You can try that. Anyway, so he has a couple of
10 pages of these guys on there.
It really doesn't matter.
Okay, well, go on. Keep talking.
So he starts off with a little trading company in Cape Town, South Africa, because, of course, this guy is a nut job. Then he has Launch Media, where he did packaging, programming. So he worked for his brother. That was the first David Goldberg vehicle. Then he started the Gold Marketing Group, which GMG provides strategic consulting, turnkey implementation to companies such as Target, Sony. That sounds like something Ron Bloom would have written. And then So then he comes up with this idea almost simultaneously with getting a huge deal, and it's these digital currency cards. And somehow this now comes into, he's developing this, and in 2011, the Topps company, very, very large, successful trading card company, they acquire him.
Hold on a second. So I found his picture.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a gang sign or some V or some horse crap. He's got a douchebag goatee mustache.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got his mouth kind of open like,
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he's a douchebag.
Yeah, but he's a bad boy, is what I'm saying.
Oh, he's definitely a bad boy.
Okay.
Or he wants to be, or he's one of these bogus bad boy, a BBG.
BBG. What happens in 2011?
Bogus bad.
What happens in 2011, 7 years after the marriage consummated between Sandberg and Goldberg, the 7-year itch, I'm just pointing it out.
7 years, which is a fact.
He sells his company to Topps.
Robert?
Yes, because they have, and partially because they have as one of their biggest clients for digital currency cards, Facebook.
Oh. Coincidence?
I think not. So when I put all of this together and the lack of autopsy and there really is a lot of missing information. And boy, I tell you, I've looked at probably 20 or 30 videos and reports about treadmills, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. People's fingers get caught and nasty things happen.
Oh.
It's really about, I think the average is 6 deaths a year related to a treadmill.
Flying off one of them.
Yeah, especially landing on the back of your head with enough force so you bleed out from the head.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. So the third theory I have is, and this is where the half hour comes in, Cheryl is having an affair with the brother, which happens because he's around, he's doing
they're on the vacation.
Well, so here's the question. Was he on vacation there separately with them? Did he just show up? None of these things we know.
So you're suggesting the possibility exists and should be looked into, that they were on vacation, and unbeknownst to David, Robert was in the neighborhood.
That or Robert looks crazy enough to kill his brother.
Nah, well.
For money, and you don't know, man. He's always been the loser brother.
He already has the money. I would more likely, if I was going to go in that direction, I would go into the little, like Robert would be the guy staying at the Four Seasons.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because he's got the money. He looks like the type.
He doesn't have he doesn't have David money.
David would be sneaking into the Four Seasons. Here's the way I would write it as a novel. And this is totally fictional.
We have no idea if this is true. I just wanted to show people.
Any idea, and we don't want to get sued by Robert, who's the living brother.
You can toss any topic at me, and we'll find something for you here.
Now, here's what happens. Robert, who's a big spender, is the tough guy. He's the guy who's at the Four Seasons. He doesn't think he should go to some local motel and then sneak into the Four Seasons.
No.
So David sneaks into the Four Seasons. He's using the gym. And Robert, apparently, I would say the whole family is probably exercise oriented, because when you're in Mexico traveling, why are you looking for a gym?
He doesn't look very exercise oriented, my friend.
No, he doesn't. But let's say that he is.
Okay.
He goes into the little gym and he sees his brother on the treadmill.
And he thinks, holy crap.
Since he's in there to have an affair with the wife, he realizes that the jig is up. The brother sees him and starts yelling, "What are you doing here?"
This happens at 6:30. They're fighting in the gym at 6:30, and at 7, he's already hammered his head.
Well, here's the way I see it if you wanted to make it funnier.
Oh, okay, please.
Robert comes in, they start yelling at each other, but David, because he's got to get his minutes in, stays on the treadmill. So he's yelling at his brother while running on the treadmill instead of getting off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get into a beef, and Robert just pushes him because they're angry with each other. Right. And then he goes flying off, busts his head, and Robert freaks out. And
for half an hour. He's freaking out for half an hour.
Yeah, he's got a half an hour to freak out.
I just imagine Randy Quaid, like, oh, man, what am I going to do? I killed Dennis.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't know either, but
I would say that the stumbled upon is why was Robert in this town where they were having where the twosome were having their annual vacation or get together, whatever it was. I'm suspicious too now.
And beyond all this, one of our producers sent me an email from the Sony WikiLeaks archive. Very smart to think, hey, let me see if David Goldberg's in there. And I put this a link to this in the show notes. It is an entire strategy sent from David Goldberg to Michael Linton, the president of Sony Entertainment, about how to fix their music division, make it wildly profitable. And I will just tell you, the bottom line, his idea is pretty much stop all new releases, don't spend any more money on new music, you can make it all off the catalog. And Michael Linton seems very interested. So it's something fun to read.
Yeah, music's dead.
Yeah, and changing licensing and really robber baronish about the music industry. Not a good guy in his thinking about how to help further music and as an art form. So that's just something.
Why would you be? You're a businessman.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There you go. So there's my little.
That was an interesting analysis.
Yeah, that's why
Robert has some explaining to do.
Yeah, probably not going to hear it. But
we're not going to hear that. We're not going to hear any explaining from Cheryl.
Well, if Cheryl and Robert, eventually, if there's something there, or it could happen now, they might.
No, that's never going to happen.
Okay.
My prediction is that this.
I think Sheryl Sandberg is an animal. That's what I'm thinking.
She's got other.
I bet she's nuts in bed. Don't you think?
No.
Oh, come on.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Well, I just don't see her being nuts in bed. I mean, you might be right, but
okay.
No, she seems like a chatterbox.
Hey, could you shut up for a moment?
You gotta lean in. You lean back.
Amen. Fist bump.
All right, that ends that segment. Good one.
Well, since we mentioned music, play hip hop and the history of music.
Hip hop and the history of music coming at you courtesy of John C. Dvorak.
And in a finding sure to trigger endless debate, a British study concludes hip-hop has had the most profound effect on pop music in the last half-century. Researchers analyzed roughly 17,000 songs from 1960 through 2010. They say hip-hop's influence on chord patterns and instrumentation was even greater than the Beatles and the rest of the British invasion in the 1960s.
What report is this? This is bullshit. Come on.
It's science. The science is in.
Oh, my mouth. That's horrible.
The science is in.
Please. Chord changes. They take existing it started with a lot of existing tracks and then rapping over that. I mean, how? Fine.
You just don't want to admit it.
I don't want to admit it.
The 80s are over.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I was listening to some collections recently. I actually mentioned this to you of music because I like to kind of keep up. And I found that's when I ran into this Taylor Swift song that I actually liked. I must have listened to 200 or 300 hot Billboard 100 type stuff. It was terrible.
The 80s.
There was no beat. There's no hooks.
All right.
There's nothing that you were used to. There's nothing that's memorable that you would hum. There's nothing you'd sing along to yourself. It's just, and there's nothing that would get you off the chair, get you off your ass. It's horrible. The music, the purest dance music is kind of deteriorated into trance, where I guess you take a lot of ecstasy. And that you're dancing while on.
You need to do it again. You need to do it. Just say, when I was a kid. Go ahead, say it.
When I was a kid.
All right, enough of that.
No, dang,
enough of that. I got other things to talk about than you hating 80s. Jeez. You had the big, the huge horn rim glasses in the 80s. Come on.
I had what was trendy in the 80s, which was huge horn rim, and they weren't horn rimmed.
No, they weren't. But they were big.
They were big. They were huge.
Massive.
They're giant.
Okay. But shall we, I feel like I'd like to do some, what should we do? You want to thank? Well, it's going to be short anyway.
Oh, yes. We had a very poor turnout, except for one that was actually from the last show that we missed.
Let me thank you for your courage, John.
You thank anybody. Let me at least open up a browser
and open up the spreadsheet. Don't worry, I'll take my time. I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you.
Wait. You're going to thank me for what?
For your courage.
Oh.
And say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for Cocaine Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And in the morning, hold on. I got to say in the morning to everybody in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Thank you very much, Nick the Rat, back with a vengeance for the artwork on episode 718. And this was our sizest episode. This was the ants crawling around the apple. Yeah, I spoke to someone, a Dutch friend of mine, and there may be interest to do an art exhibit with the No Agenda art.
I don't know that we have. Well,
and here's how I was thinking of doing it. So we frame a number of our favorite ones because there's thousands at this point, thousands, but those are not for sale. You can buy a USB stick with all of them on it for some amount, like $100 or something.
Okay.
Well, maybe not. Just give it all away. A gallery won't expo if they can't make money, obviously.
Oh, this is true. This is absolutely the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't make money. No, not happening.
Right. But just a thought.
Well, I don't know. Hold on one second. I have the spreadsheet open, but I need to get this.
You can see all of these at noagendaartgenerator.com.
We have some of the art is fantastic. Well, you thanked Nick Durrett. I got to thank, or I'm going to thank Martin JJ because I took an old piece of art that I never noticed before.
I think for the newsletter, yeah.
On the newsletter, which is one of those Taylor Swift things.
Yeah,
and and it was probably. We have to discuss this once in a while because I was reading through the new report that came out on the copyright laws, and they're working on doing some changes. And one of the things they're going to change, by the way, is they have this issue with streaming music over the internet.
Yes.
And they're seriously thinking, the Copyright Office is seriously thinking of changing the penalties for unlicensed streaming. This is a message to everybody out there. Unlicensed streaming of copyrighted music over the internet, even if it's just a small audience, they're thinking of changing from a misdemeanor to a felony.
Yeah. I can't wait to do my next daily source code from jail.
I just thought I'd mention that to people out there who do that sort of thing. By the way, it's also saying you got your last chance to do it before it becomes a felony. So, all right.
I should do it quickly.
Let's thank a few people.
Yeah, please.
Very few. We have one executive producer who actually should have been the executive producer for the last show, which makes him a Black Knight. It's an Insta-Knight, Scott Lavender, who came in from Montgomery, Texas with $1,000. And that's the only reason we have a over $300 executive producer, because the next two people came in. We have two associate executive producers that both came in the $200 range. That's all we got for this miserable. And I think it's because I was thinking about this. I always analyze these things, and I think it's because I made an offer for a Mother's Day gift. It was a little high, but I was expected just a few people to maybe be interested in it. But no. I now believe that the entire No Agenda audience hates their mom. They do. They hate their mom. There's very little response to that newsletter about the Mother's Day and the rest. They hate their mom. And now that I know, next year, don't worry about it. It's not going to happen again.
All right.
All right. So Scott Lavender came in and he had a note. It says, "It appears my instant night donation cleared the bank." This is his note. It doesn't log on the page. Check. He's amen fist bump. The way I say it, instant night.
Amen fist bump.
Okay, he's got nothing. He wants to be in the Fletcher Fest, and what he wants on the Fletcher Fest is amen fist bump from Fletcher.
Oh.
To scream that.
Okay. Don't we?
And I went back and forth.
I think we might have that one. I wonder if we have that one.
He didn't do that, did he?
You'd be amazed what Fletcher does. No, I don't think so. No, he didn't. Okay.
And that's all he says. He says, I just made my $1,000 donation. I'd like to be known as Sir Amen Fist Bump. Hopefully I'm not too late for the Fletcher Fest. Thanks for making the best podcast in the universe. And this is, it came in a week ago. Excuse me.
Okay, this is interesting. So you say that he wants to be Sir Amen Fist Bump?
Yes.
Because I have here Black Knight Sir Lavender.
Well, he would be Black Knight Sir Amen Fist Bump.
Okay.
Eric didn't get this note.
Okay, got it. It's done. We're good.
This is his original note.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. And that's all he had to say. So that's short and sweet.
Good.
Now we drop down to associate executive producers Tyler Fox from Indianapolis, Indiana, from $242.33. Hope this makes it in time for Thursday's show. Was going to wait until after surviving the cost of moving to Germany, Deutschland, this summer before making another large donation, but decided I needed the apartment hunting karma.
Yes.
I'm in the Munich airport as I type, and I'm about to begin 5 days of furious apartment hunting. No agenda got me through the 10-hour trip. As always, thank you, you too, for all you do to help keep me sane and laughing at all the bullshit. I'll take the apartment karma, a little girl yay with Adam's choice of jingle, something European, perhaps.
Something Euro. We'll do that.
Yay! You've got karma.
It's the Euro.
It's very Euro.
That's very Euro.
Yeah. Alexander Sukovi in Moscow. And now he sent this should be $250. He would actually have been the associate executive producer because he had a regular donation come in later. It's $50. He donates $50 a month in a plan.
He does.
He says, as it happened, completion of my knighthood layaway plan coincided with some radical changes in my personal and professional life. I totally missed it. So here I am, knee-deep in bonerdom. Please give me a shot of de-douching, followed by a generic karma. Also, my apology accept my apology, as well as a donation covering all 4 missed months. I'm also reinstating my $50 a month subscription. As for my knighthood, I'll send you calculations separately. We take your word for it. We've been reading your name for years. And would only ask to knight me as Alexander, Knight of Mother Russia.
Nice. Yeah, let me just make sure that's on the list. Knight of Mother Russia. Yeah, perfect. We'll do it.
So those are our 3 executive producers, associate executive producers.
I have a make good here. I'm not quite sure what happened, but Morgan Corkill, who donated on 7/15. I guess we never read his note, and it does happen, these things. So I'll just read his note. He sent it again. He said, I donated a couple months ago requesting some I don't want to die on Air Asia karma. Not only did I not die, but while in Australia, I was offered a great job, and now I've moved back to Australia from China. And I'm very happy to be in a country that at least pretends to be democratic. Also, if you could throw in the Ebola jingle and karma for all, that would be appreciated. So we'll double these up here. We've got Alexander wanted, he just wanted straight up de-douching and karma, correct?
Yeah.
Alrighty. And do I have...
do we have in the morning in Russian?
No. Or maybe somewhere. Let me see. Okay, Ebola.
Ebola?
And in the black trunks...
No, different one.
And over 3,000 troops, the ISIS of virus, the killer from Nigeria, Ebola!
You've been de-douched. You've got karma.
There you go. Everything taken care of. Well done.
I want to remind people we do have a show 7:20 coming up on Sunday. It's only a few days away, and we don't have. We did poorly. I've got a small extra news, not a newsletter, but a little commentary I'm going to send out because of the of Kofi Annan recommending that everybody eat bugs.
Yeah, nice.
And I have I'm working on a 10-minute play.
Oh, I can't wait.
Bugs, and I have some of the dialogue.
Is this a radio play? Is this
No, it's a 10-minute play. 10-minute plays are. I've decided to start writing 10-minute plays. I've actually done it.
Right, but is this something you and I can act out together? Is this?
This particular one probably because I think this may be a 2-man play.
That'd be fun.
Possibly do that. I get all the dialogue finished. I have part of the dialogue in this little release I'm going to send out tomorrow.
All right.
And it'll be about eating bugs. I mean, this is assume that that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to start eating bugs because we won't be able to get by, and they're going to stop making meat anyway. So Dvorak.org/NA.
Quick PR mention from David Ramsey, of course, from NoAgendaCD.com. He has a new initiative, which is, as you know, his boss employs him to, amongst other things, create the No Agenda CDs. It's part of his job at his work. And
they're free for people who want a little a batch of them so they could leave them at the truck stops.
In the morning, Sir Pants asked me to create a podcast consisting of No Agenda's coverage of the 2016 presidential candidates so he can share it with his friends and colleagues when they insist that some douchebag politician is just great. So he has put this together. And he's taking bits of our show that pertain to the 2016 cycle, and you can find it all at noagenda2016.com. noagenda2016.com. And then he has a podcast feed and there's an iTunes link, and I can't wait to listen to what he's putting together and how he produces that. So I think that's fantastic. This is why we're the best podcast in the universe. We got the best producers out there. It's that simple. And we do need your help. Please go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And of course, we always need your help going out there propagating our formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Nice. Hold on a second. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh,
do we like any of the politicians?
It's funny because I did record.
I think I still like Gary Johnson.
He's not running.
Oh, well.
I don't believe he's running this cycle. I did get I caught on to a couple other things now that you bring that up, because a couple other people have, a number of, certainly from the Republican Party, have declared, but also, let me see, where do I have this? Here we go. Just a lot going on. But of course, the big news, really what we should be looking at, but it's weird timing for us, is the UK elections. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, I got some stuff about that.
Let me see.
But I got a kick out, and just throw it in before I forget it. I got a kick out of, in fact, I started looking at The Independent, which is one of the papers over there. I didn't realize it was anything but independent. And they just
yeah, that's like Federal Reserve is anything but federal. Yes, good point.
And they hate Nigel Farage, to an extreme. And I guess just before the polls opened up, somebody made this huge accusation that Farage
eats babies.
What?
That he eats babies.
No, he's homophobic.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course.
Go to the bottom.
Yeah, of course. Go to the bottom. I got it. Oh, you have a clip for this. Nice.
No, do I? No, I don't.
I'm sorry. So happening here, we had so Huckabee has now announced.
Yeah, we have to dig into this. There's some reason that these guys are running.
I think this.
Make money.
I think.
Or just get attention. Maybe it's marketing.
A lot of these, I think, I got a clip from Bernie Sanders as well. They're also meant to draw the real front runners into certain areas. So Bernie Sanders would, if he's going up against Hillary Clinton in the primary, he will draw her much more toward the left. And these are all strategies. I'm convinced. Sure, there must be something with the money, but there's a lot of strategies that run. And Ron Paul, of course, was also really misused, whether he knew it or not, in helping Romney become the
loser.
Exactly. Here's Huckabee. Here's Sanders. I'll start with Sanders. And his platform. First of all, Sanders, who is an interesting guy, independent in Vermont, but they're making him look like Mr. Kooky. The pictures you see of him with like all wide-eyed and like, hey, I'm an old crazy man trying to tell you. If the banks are too big to fail, I tell you, we got to stop.
One coot running.
I'm an old coot.
I fear very
he also needs to get someone to produce his press conferences with real audio.
I fear very much that the financial system is even more fragile than many people may perceive. This huge issue simply cannot be swept under the rug. It has got to be addressed. During the financial crisis of 2008, the American people were told that they needed to bail out huge financial institutions because they were too big to fail. Yet today, 3 out of the 4 largest financial institutions in this country, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, are 80% larger than they were on September 30th, 2007, a year before the taxpayers of this country bailed them out.
Good work, Elizabeth Warren. And by the way, when this is where he's already off the rails here. When you say they're 80% larger, what he's trying to explain is that they have assets which are really outstanding assets from the financial system. They didn't wake up one day with 80% more money in their bank. This is all spreadsheet stuff. And their assets, of course, are credits owed to them through financial products. That's what he should have said. But now it sounds like, oh, they're really successful. Why would you want to fuck with them?
So we bailed out the largest financial institutions in this country because they were too big to fail. And today, 3 out of the 4 largest are now much, much larger than they were when we bailed them out.
Cameras.
Yeah, annoying.
Incredibly, during that time, J.P. Morgan Chase has increased its assets by more than $1 trillion, Bank of America by more than $500 billion, and after Wells Fargo acquired Wachovia, it has more than tripled its size.
So,
wait, guys, to interrupt. I want to hear your analysis. But these cameras,
I know.
Why do they all go off at once and then they stop? There's nothing, and then they.
Oh, I know why they go off at once because
is he picking his nose? What's the deal?
Yeah, he's making a crazy old coot face. Oh, that's it.
And why are the camera sounds so clear and audible as opposed to he sounds like he's in a bucket? Does it make any sense? Like they're miking the cameras?
Yeah, because what he didn't do is create a pool audio and video. That's what you do if you're professional, so everyone can get good sound at least. They can have their own video if they want. It's lame. It's not a real serious attempt.
In other words, if any of these financial institutions were to fail again, the taxpayers of this country would be on the hook for another bailout, perhaps even larger than the last one. We must not allow that to happen. No single financial institution should be so large that its failure would cause catastrophic risk to millions of Americans or to our nation's economic well-being. No single financial institution should have holdings so extensive that its failure would send the world economy into crisis. If an institution is too big to fail, it is too big to exist, and that is the bottom line.
All right. Well, this is going to go nowhere, Bernie. This is not a strategy for winning. Because the only place you can get money to even participate is from the banks. That's why this won't be discussed.
This is true, and the insurance companies.
Well, they're banks
possible? I'm looking back on this. You got these guys like this guy, and I think I'm not going to go back and think of Ron Paul. Do you remember when Ron Paul was running and there was some memo that leaked from some enforcement agency saying anyone, we put them on the watch list if they're Ron Paul supporters?
Yes. It was a directive. It was called. It was a law enforcement agency directive. Wow, this is going back. I'm not sure. Maybe the chat room will remember what it's called.
Well,
it had a specific name. Yeah, it had a specific name.
And is it just possible that some of these candidates are used as honeypots
to bring out crazies?
Yeah, to isolate the crazies, because anyone who would go along with Bernie Sanders and even think of voting for him or supporting him or signing up for his newsletter or giving him money, I would put him on a watch list.
Yeah. It turned into Patriots. Ron Paul, of course, had the original Tea Party, which was a money bomb fundraising initiative in Boston on the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, and they got hijacked.
Oh, it's totally, yeah.
Got hijacked.
Well done hijacking, by the way.
All right.
Hijacked by 2 or 3 different organizations. Tea Party Express, American blah, blah, blah. I can't remember.
But of course, this is why you need your No Agenda show, because we'll weed through the crap and pick out the things that are really important. All of this is just bull
so
crap.
don't get on Bernie's mailing list.
Huckabee. Let me do Huckabee. Now, Huckabee is being interviewed by...
Another one.
Yeah, now, Huckabee has had a couple of years of radio experience, so he's now a much better speaker. He has a lot...
TV too.
Sorry?
He's got a TV show too.
Right, so he has experience now, and he is interviewed by Stephanopoulos on ABC. Good Morning America. Stephanopoulos, of course, as we know, a Clinton operative. And I have to give Huckabee a little shoulder, little amen fist bump here for calling Stephanopoulos out in a sly, mean way.
Like Bill Clinton, you were born in Hope, Arkansas. That's where you announced yesterday night. We looked at your website, and you have this T-shirt you're selling right now, Defeat the Clinton Machine. What do you know?
So what they went to his website. Oh, yeah, but you're selling T-shirts that say defeat the Clinton machine. Oh, really? Oh, really? What do you know about that?
What do you know about challenging the Clintons that others may not?
Well, first of all, as you well know from having worked for them, the Clintons know how to win, and they play to win. They play hard. They answer every attack immediately and vociferously. They don't hold anything back. When I ran in Arkansas, I ran against what had been built up as really a Clinton machine. I mean, they owned the politics of the state.
Even though they had gone to Washington by the time
they had gone to Washington, but people forget that Bill Clinton had been governor for 12 years. All those appointees, everybody in state government, he had either hired them or he had appointed them. And so I inherited this extraordinary challenge of a Democratic legislature that was 90% Democrat, the most lopsided in all of America, more than Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, California, and Oregon. And so I walk into that environment, but I was able to get things done because I learned how to govern in a difficult environment.
All right. That's Huckabee. No chance.
Nice pitch.
Yep. And then
I thought that was excellent.
And then the moment supreme, as Bill Clinton comes out with an entirely beautifully prepackaged, pre-produced initiative to put the Clinton Foundation inappropriate funding, donations, favors done when Hillary was in the State Department, put it to rest. And he brings the entire Today, not the entire crew, but he brings the Today Show, NBC, to Africa, and they're doing beautiful little pieces. We got little black babies with hearing aids, and I can hear for the first time. It's amazing. Oh, just beautiful. And it's like 2 7-minute packages. Then, of course, there's some interviews there with Bill himself, and we've already noticed that he's losing his shit. And even though it's hard to really, you got to notice it, and No Agenda ears will pick this up. It's a meltdown of sorts that happened on this. And so I cut out all the fluff, and I'm left with a couple of minutes of just the questions asked of Bill. And this, of course, is the number one Mr. Performative expert ever. To remind you what a performative is, when certainly a politician says, well, I believe it is completely legal, or the fact of the matter. You can say any of these things. It doesn't actually mean that what you're saying is true or truthful. You're just saying,
let me say this to you. Let me say this about that.
There you go. You're done. That's a performative. That is a performative. You can't even count the number of performatives in this. But it was the whole thing, and I think you might have seen a little piece where he's defending his speaking fees. I found all of the interview bits to be interesting.
Oh, you mean the $500,000 he gets to speak at private little events that so it coincidentally need help but from our government?
Let's listen to his meltdown. I mean, we can stop as appropriate.
Former President Bill Clinton is making no apologies as he tours some of the African programs his foundation has raised billions to help fund.
I don't think there's anything sinister in trying to get wealthy people in countries that are seriously involved in development to spend their money wisely in a way that helps poor people and lifts them up. I don't think there's anything.
I like poor people. Yeah, like me, poor people like me. He doesn't say who it actually helps, just poor people. And by the way, chat room, of course, if we stopped at every performative on the show, we'd never get the show done. So don't tell me what I'm doing.
I think it's good.
But his wife's run for president has triggered a new level of scrutiny and criticism.
There has been a very deliberate attempt to take the foundation down.
So this is interesting. He's saying that someone is actually trying to take the foundation down. Very deliberate attempt. This is finger pointing, kind of.
And there is almost no new fact that's known now that wasn't known when she ran for president the first time.
Almost no new facts.
Over half of the donors giving $5 million or more are foreign, many of them foreign governments. Under mounting pressure, the foundation recently announced it will only take money from 6 Western countries.
Is that an acknowledgement that it was a mistake not to stop the other foreign donations before your wife ran for president?
No, absolutely not. It's an acknowledgement that we're going to come as close as we can during her presidential campaign to following the rules we followed when she became Secretary of State.
It's interesting how it's almost kind of, we're doing our best as close as we can.
He defended the $10 to $25 million given by Saudi Arabia.
I don't think that I did anything that was against the interests of the United States.
Whoa. I don't think I did anything. I don't. Okay, we know you don't, Bill. Think that I did anything against the interests of the United States. Pretty damn broad.
Do you understand, though, that the perception itself is a problem?
No.
You don't?
No. Look, I don't want to get into the weeds here. I'm not.
Listen, now he's getting pissed. Hold on a second. Let me pull this back. He's getting pissed.
Look, I don't want to get into the weeds here. I'm not responsible for anybody else's perception. I asked Hillary about this, and she said, no one's ever tried to influence me by helping you.
Influence? What does the word influence even mean? Influence? How about just getting shit done? Influence is the incorrect word.
No one has even suggested they have a shred of evidence to that effect. There's never been anything like the Clinton Global Initiative where you raised over $100 billion worth of stuff that's helped 430 million people in 180 countries.
Wow, 430 million people in, did he say 80 or 180 countries?
180.
180 countries.
Initiative where you raised over $100 billion worth of stuff that's helped 430 million people in 180 countries.
Huh? You certainly didn't grow up wealthy, but you've become a wealthy man.
I have. Yes, and one of the most amusing things of all.
What could one of the most amusing things of all be?
Is everybody saying, well, how can Hillary possibly relate to the currents of middle-class America because now we have money? I mean, it's laughable. It's okay if you inherit your money, apparently, then you can help people.
Ooh, Romney. Ooh.
I'm grateful for our success, but let me remind you, when we moved into the White House, we had the lowest net worth of any family since Harry Truman.
This has got to stop.
When they came out, according to Hillary, don't forget that we have the clip. They were broke.
Oh, yeah.
They were flat broke. Now all of a sudden he's worth almost $1 billion doing what?
When you left, you had $14 million in legal bills.
Or more. That's okay. We paid them. We've been very fortunate. I give 10% of my revenue off the top every year to the foundation. And Hillary, in the years she was there, gave 17. Over the last 15 years, I've taken almost no capital gains. And I've given 10% more to pay my bills. And because
I got to pay my bills, shut up.
Regular working Americans look and say, $500,000 for a speech?
Well, why shouldn't it's the most independence I can get.
This is interesting. He says it's the most independence I can get. And I believe he's talking about Hillary. Like, if I don't have this money, my own money, if I don't have it, I'll be a complete slave to the woman.
It's the most independence I can get. I don't. If I had a business relationship with somebody, they would have a target on their back from the day they did business with me till the end. Any kind of disclosure is a target, but it looks bad. There's no facts, of course, but it looks bad. People, I work hard on this. I spend a couple hours a day just doing the research. People like to hear me speak. And I have turned down a lot of them. If I think there's something wrong with it, I don't take it. And I do disclose who gave them to me so people can make up their own mind.
So she's now running for president. Will you continue to give speeches?
Oh, yeah. I got to pay our bills.
Now wait for it.
If your wife is elected president, will you step down from the foundation?
Well, I'll decide if it's the right thing to do, I will.
Why might you step down if she were elected president?
Well, I might if I were asked to do something in the public interest that I had an obligation to do. Or I might...
Like being vice president, or being...
Secretary of State.
Secretary of Defense or something good like that. By the way...
stepping down from this thing is a money-making gold mine.
It is. And not to be outdone, I was blown away by President Obama, who came out and announced his own Clinton Global Initiative post his...
He's gone into competition.
But this is very...
These guys, these elites have figured out... Clinton has perfected this idea. No one, other people have skirted around the concept of how, exploiting all these countries and saying, "Hey, I did you a favor when I was president," or "My wife's going to be president." We still got, it's like a lobbyist. Like these guys, they leave office and they become lobbyists because they know everybody. I can make things work well for you if you give us, this many millions of dollars. It's worth it to you,
right?
But no one has taken it to the extreme of Clinton, and now they're looking at it and say, why not? Let's do it.
So now I believe the Clinton Global Initiative started right after the Clintons left the White House. President Obama is doing something very interesting. We had the My Brother's Keeper initiative, which was a complete administrative United States government initiative, and it was called it's still called My Brother's Keeper, and it's a public-private partnership. And it's a name that has been out there, and it is associated with the president. And now he announced brazenly the My Brother's Keeper Alliance. So he's taking the My Brother's Keeper name that they've carefully built, and he's created a complete privately funded nonprofit called the My Brother's Keeper Alliance. And this is very interesting what's going on in this little outfit. And they're starting with a nice little kitty of money, which he will, of course, be working with the minute he leaves the White House. Here we go.
Color.
Here we go.
Especially boys and young men. So we've made enormous progress over the last year, but today, after months of great work on the part of a whole lot of people, we're taking another step forward with people from the private sector coming together in a big way.
Big way.
We're here for the launch of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, which is a new nonprofit organization of private sector organizations and companies that have committed themselves to continue the work of opening doors for young people, all our young people, long after I've left office. It's a big deal.
That's a big deal. You bet it's a big deal. Let's look at it. It will be run by Joe Echevarria, former chief executive of Deloitte. And he's going to be running it full time. They already have $80 million committed from American Express, Deloitte, Discovery Networks. We know Discovery Networks, they are a big propaganda arm. They are so huge. They're so tight, closed down. We've looked at them before. These guys really move.
He's doing this while he's still in office?
With an official United States government branding. That's what pisses me off.
This is corruption at its highest level.
And wait, Fox News parent News Corp is going to be donating money. And they'll have some superstars on the board. John Legend, of course. Former Miami Heat star Alonzo Mourning. Advisory council with former Secretary of State Colin Powell, because these guys are also all in on the Common Core crap. In fact, Colin Powell runs a lot of the nonprofits that are working with Pierce and all these people. Also, former Attorney General Eric Holder, Cory Booker, NFL player Jerome Bettis, Shaquille O'Neal, drinking club they expect to have $300 million they expect to have by the time the president's out of the White House. Good start. How
can he be collecting money for some organization where it could be influencing legislation?
That is a great question. I know. And no one mentions, come on. On one hand, you
can't
excoriating the Clintons, and on the other hand, and he still has a little ways to go. He's not entirely done.
Hillary will take it to the next level if she gets in. She'll start collecting money right off the bat.
I was just blown away, and why did
IBM give you all that money? And look, they got some legislation they gave us the money because it's for the good of the people.
Yeah.
Where did that money go? It went into my pocket.
Yeah. The My Brother's Keeper Alliance.
This is outrageous.
Interesting.
This is outrageous.
Interesting. Absent from the announcement, someone who has been such a proponent, such a cheerleader, so on board, and he's not on the board. He's not on the board on the advisory board. Al Sharpton got screwed on this deal.
Yeah. There's probably too many people that are on those boards.
But I went. Remember, no,
Sharpton's got his own game.
Sharpton, one of two things. Either Sharpton wanted to be rolled up into this, and they said, "No, you're too toxic." Because remember, he's President Obama's number one guy. He's always patting him on the shoulder. Good to see you here. Am I pal Al? So maybe it's a complete rivalry. Maybe they're going to take over the Sharpton.
No, it could be this too. It could be this. Look, Al, we're going to. You got your own thing. You just do that. We'll make sure that you'll get a taste.
We'll give you a taste. We'll give you a little taste of the good stuff. Yeah, very nice. I find that disturbing. It's
extremely disturbing.
There's no way that can be okay. It just can't be okay.
No, it's not okay at all. It's a complete violation of everything. This is corruption at its definition.
At its finest. At its finest, really.
Corruption at its finest. Holy mackerel! So yeah, he's trying to top Clinton.
But that's his legacy. It'll be fine.
Well, it's all for the good of think of the children. It's for the children.
I wasn't ready for that.
Think of the children.
I can't do it that fast. Think of the children.
No, you can't do it that fast.
I can do it too. Oh, oops.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Oh, man. All right. There's so much nutty stuff going around. Maybe we should talk about Garland, Texas, and what happened with Pamela Geller, with Geert Wilders, who, of course, is a Dutch politician, and these two, well, we've never seen anything other than a blowed-up car, and then we have these pictures of these so-called ISIS sympathizers. What was your take on this?
Well, a couple of things. One, it was very kind of poorly covered by the mainstream media, for starters, because it wasn't, I don't think it was an established, approved.
No, I would agree.
So it wasn't approved, and it wasn't on the list, and it wasn't on the 6-week cycle, and the FBI didn't have any involvement. And of course, which begs the question, since the FBI did have their eyes on these guys, supposedly, and the NSA has got us all in a surveillance state. Yeah. How could this even happen?
How is it not working? Yes, of course.
Yeah, so in other words, the surveillance state doesn't work, and the FBI doesn't do its job, and the whole thing's a scam. And what we try to propose, the NSA and all the rest of the surveillance state stuff is just to make sure that the blackmail state stays in place. It's about blackmail, not about protecting us, or otherwise they would have protected us against this. Right. Although the Texans seem to have had a clue about that. So, but anyway, it wasn't on the approved list, so it didn't fall into, and so they didn't get any attention, except though 2 guys were shot. Now, I didn't do too much work on it. I thought it was kind of a funny, ironic situation, and it was covered by the right wingers who make a big point about, this was, how come we shoot, if everyone's armed, we can just shoot these guys and it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, so I did do a little research. First of all, Garland, Texas, if you're familiar with the Dallas area, and apologies anyone in Garland, it's the ghetto of Dallas. I mean, it's just the ghetto. They have they're doing this event in a kind of a remotely located building, and they claim they spent $50,000 on hiring security for the event, which, as it turns out, was a local SWAT team. And right off the bat, I'm sad that, because I watched the whole event, I watched all the speeches, and it's really saying we are exercising our inherent right to free speech. And we're making this point because we feel that we're being shoved into a slippery slope where if you can't draw cartoons like Charlie Hebdo, then you're going to have a whole bunch of freedom of speech issues. So it is a protest. It's an activist thing, and I believe that Geert Wilders, he'll just show up if they pay him. And I like a lot of his messaging. I like a lot of what he says. It was nothing spectacular. By the way, the winning cartoon was kind of a nice one. It was a cartoon of a hand drawing a cartoon of Muhammad. So kind of a meta thing. It was not bad. I didn't see any other things. I saw Pamela Geller, who is kind of a lightning rod for this, what is it called, the AFDI, who really is run by a guy named Robert Spencer. But before I get to him, I want to play a little bit from MSNBC at how this group with Wilders and Geller and Robert Spencer is now being portrayed. It's very, very strange to see what happened, where whenever we have some kind of attack, and maybe it's ISIS, oh my God, these guys are horrible, and now the whole narrative is, well, you shouldn't, kick the beehive, you shouldn't poke the bear, and it actually goes. I'm going to turn around. Well, here we go. Here he is with who is this? This is someone from MSNBC, and then the Southern Poverty Law Center's guy, Potok, and Southern Poverty Law Center, who are just a big nonprofit with, what did we last count, $700 million they have or in assets?
They got a lot of money.
Huge amounts of money. And this is what came out of that conversation.
Well, who's to say whether these two actually had terrorist ties or not? We know that they did, at least one of them did some tweeting in favor of ISIS, and that ISIS retweeted that person's tweets. But, no, I don't think that setting up events in order to draw out haters is really the best way to go. I mean, look, I think that an analogy is a Klan group that decides to hold a cartoon contest satirizing black people. Certainly that would make many people angry, and it might even bring out a black nationalist or two who was willing to do some shooting, him or herself.
Okay, so the Southern Poverty Law Center deems this AFDI as a hate group because they say they hate Islam and Muslims. After watching the entire event, the only thing I heard them say was they are against jihadis and they do not want a Sharia law, the very, very true conservative Islamic faction of faith creeping into America. Fine. Now, this is Robert Spencer. He's on CNN. This is the guy. He's the guy that's in charge of this. And I believe he is handling at least Geller, and he might even be, in fact, I looked him up on the Book of Knowledge just to get a little more info on him. I'll look that up in a second.
What's his full name?
Spencer, Robert Spencer. Yeah, very interesting background. Looks like a total handler for this.
We have this new threat, if you will, of more violence coming from ISIS. In part, they say future attacks are going to be harsher and they're going to be worse. Are you guys having second thoughts now about future events in light of this?
No, I think that this only underscores the necessity to continue to hold events like this, to show that we will not be cowed, we will not curtail our activities, we will not be intimidated. What they want to do is force us to obey Sharia blasphemy laws, which mandate death for those who insult Islam or Muhammad. And so if we kowtow to this and we curtail our activities and we say, okay, Muhammad and Islam, they're off limits, then we are just aiding and abetting the ISIS agenda, and that is surrender. The Garland police did a stellar job in stopping the jihadis. Do you feel like the fact that there was violence proved the point you were trying to make? Oh, it certainly does. Absolutely. So are you looking, by holding more events, then I suppose you could continue to say, are you looking for more violence to keep on making this point? Of course not. That's a ridiculous idea.
The question has been posed, and I want to get your take on it, that if your event was, if the intent was to serve as bait, it worked. Is that what you guys were intending?
No. The intent was to stand on our feet and say we are not going to submit. We don't want any violence. We are not the ones who are committing the violence. We are not inciting the violence. The ones who are inciting the violence are the ones who are on Twitter saying you have to go kill people who draw cartoons.
There's a lot of talk, even debate over is this event controversial or not. We're not going to debate here. If you have a right to be holding this event, you have the right to be holding this event. We're not going to...
Now, listen carefully, because I'm going to show you the narrative that is coming regarding this. So she repeats this really extravagantly.
The debate here, if there if violence is okay in light of this event, absolutely not. I don't even want to debate the line between free speech and provocation. I want to talk to you and get your take in light of the fact that there was violence attempted at your event, and you want to hold more events. Do you now need to change plans, very realistically, not using the bully pulpit here?
Well, we have to take adequate security measures. and we did at Garland. The jihadis were stopped. They wanted to replicate the Charlie Hebdo jihad massacre and kill massive numbers of people. They were not able to get into the building. We are going to have that kind of security and more in the future.
And I will say, now I think there was definitely something strange going on here. Both Pamela Geller and Geert Wilders took pictures with the SWAT team before the event. I guess you don't need security. Just let's gather around, SWAT team, which is, of course, the moment when, that's just such a weak defense. It doesn't make any sense that they were doing that. Oh, look, here's my security guard. Here's my security. Like, phew. Okay, weren't they supposed to be protecting the entire venue? No, we're taking pictures with them. Fine. You looked up Robert Spencer by now, I'm sure. He's
yeah. It's hard to put a finger on how he's. You get the sense, based on the number of books he does and some of the other things, that he's got some intelligence agency connection, but it's very difficult to pick out.
Well, Chris Matthews, of all people, in his analysis of what happened at the very end of this clip, I think he calls out something worth noting. Especially for me to say that about Chris Matthews, who I think is a dick.
Up next, the latest on the investigation of the last night's shooting in Texas, where gunmen opened fire outside and talk about causing trouble. An anti-Islamic event caused this probably. This is hardball, a place for politics. This is problematic to me because I wonder whether this group that held this event down there to basically disparage and to make fun of the Prophet Muhammad doesn't in some way cause these events without the word causing. How about provoking? How about taunting? How about daring? How do you see the causality factor here?
Look, I don't want to be insulting the freedom of speech. Everyone has the right to freedom of speech.
Now listen carefully to what's happening here. You have the right to freedom of speech, maybe.
And it's good to stand by that principle, but these people are not standing by that principle. They're standing by the principle of hatred for other people. That's their guiding light. That's what they do. Someone knew that there was a likelihood that some stupid person would do this. And again, I don't think it's any great revelation that if you shout fire in a crowded theater and you incite people and you say nasty invective about people's ancestors and their religious symbols, that there are a couple of crazy nutcases that are going to come out of the woodwork and are going to try to take action over that. But that has nothing to do with Islam.
Okay, now let's just pause here for a moment. He's already bringing in the narrative that if you shout fire in a theater, it's equal to provoking people based on religious views. Now, this is a very interesting tactic, but I think it is coming into restrictions on speech. And what they are now saying, and you'll hear more in a moment, is you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. Correct, John?
I don't know that there's actually a law that says that.
There's not a law that says that, but there was a 1942 ruling by the Supreme Court, which is being tweeted around. It started with the CNN guy tweeting that around, which is about the Supreme Court said, well, let me finish the clip and then I'll read the Supreme Court ruling to you.
There are Christians, there are Jews, there are plenty of other people from other faiths who have done the exact same thing.
Let me ask you about the predictable factor. And maybe I shouldn't use the word cause but when you do something that has a predictable reaction to it, you're pretty much getting there. My question is, how often does this go on, do you know, that they have these displays of anti-Muhammad artifacts and paintings? How often do they have them without reaction?
Well, look, thankfully these events don't happen that often, but unfortunately they get a lot of press because of the fact that these folks are deliberately going out and they're putting it in people's faces.
I remember in the old days when the Communist Party and the Nazi Party would sort of team up in a weird, sick, sort of symbiotic way. One would have an event, the other would attack it, I think she caused this trouble. And whether this trouble came yesterday or it came 2 weeks from now, it's going to be in the air as long as you taunt.
Did you hear what he said there? It's a lot like what the Nazis used to do. Like they had this whole thing set up.
Like they're working together.
Uh-huh.
He indicated that they were.
Indicating that they were. But what's happened now is, and this the ruling is Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire, 1942. In late November 41, Walter Chaplinsky, a Jehovah's Witness, was using a public sidewalk as a pulpit in downtown Rochester, passing out pamphlets calling organized religion a racket. Notice, religion. After a large crowd had begun blocking the roads, generally causing a scene, a police officer removed Chaplinsky to police headquarters. Upon seeing the town marshal, Chaplinsky attacked the marshal verbally. He was then arrested. The complaint against Chaplinsky was stated that he shouted, quote, "You're a goddamn racketeer and a damned fascist." Chaplinsky admitted that he said the words charged in the complaint with the exception of the name of the deity. For this, he was charged and convicted on the New Hampshire statute preventing intentionally offensive speech being directed at others in a public place. Now, I believe this went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the opinion of the court was, after a unanimous decision, upheld the arrest. They advanced the two-tier theory of the First Amendment. Certain, quote, well-defined and narrowly limited categories of speech fall outside the bounds of constitutional protection. Thus, quote, the lewd and obscene, the profane, the slanderous, and in this case, insulting or quite, quote, fighting words neither contributed to the expression of ideas nor possessed any social value in search for the truth. Therefore, lewd, obscene, profane, libelous, and insulting or, quote, fighting words, this is where we get it from, them's fighting words, are not deemed as protected under the First Amendment, according to this case from the Supreme Court. So I think we're going to see hate speech has been growing for a long time. Hate speech will not be protected under the First Amendment protections. If it just falls into hate speech, period, they're going to ban that.
Well, provocative speech would be banned too.
Sure.
Because what's the point?
Yeah.
It's just I
always understood
aggravated assault.
I thought speech is speech. I didn't think there was any. You can say whatever you want.
Well, you go from this is like a pendulum because you go from that to flag burning being free speech.
Right.
Now, flag burning, which is protected, seems to me to be provocative.
Yeah.
So if you have to take flag burning out of the picture and a bunch of other stuff if you're going to start swinging in that direction. That's interesting.
So
I don't know if you have a conclusion here.
Well, my conclusion, yeah, I do.
Well, your conclusion is, this is going to get worse.
My conclusion is Spencer Guy is. I don't trust him. A lot of people love this guy. He's very tight with big Jewish community. I don't trust the guy. Look at his background, and this clearly seems to be some kind of setup, not known to anybody in the administration or any of our typical ISIS terrorist threats. These guys were. It's just all bad. And the evidence was blown up immediately. Oh, I have to blow up the car because they probably had a bomb, so evidence is gone.
Right. Which means that this thing was an off the books
set up. Yeah, set up.
And it's a rogue operation.
And they knew that they didn't need the SWAT team before because they were taking pictures and selfies and hanging out, and they were paid privately. Why doesn't the police of the police department, if they know that this event is taking place, shouldn't they be there in anticipation of having to protect the freedom of speech? No, they had to hire them privately. None of this makes any sense to me. And I think it was a setup to get this. Unfortunately, they're being hoodwinked because it's being set up to get rid of this type of freedom of expression and speech. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying this is true, but I'm just looking at
agent provocateurs.
Yes, I'm just looking at some of the stuff they're
doing one thing to get something else so it's a misdirection.
Yes.
It's possible because it's not helping. That's for sure.
No,
but at the same time, you're a free speech advocate. Well, they shouldn't have done that, but it's free speech, and
free speech.
And you run into that. That's what I was watching. I was watching a lot of the Garland stuff by listening to Beck, and Beck himself, who seems to be suckered into this.
Oh yeah.
He says himself that this woman,
Pamela Geller,
her.
Yeah.
He defends her, says, well, and he's taking a kind of a absolutist approach because he's not thinking the way he's not expressing what you just expressed.
I see Pamela Geller, and I see someone who is created almost to attract attention.
She's in trouble.
But if you listen to her speech, she's annoying. The minute she really gets into her speech, she sounds like a big yanta. That's crazy. Seriously, that. It's horrible.
Now, he brought her into the discussion, defending her, mentioning that she's this type of person that you just said. And then he drops a little, I don't have a clip, but he said something interesting that was she has attacked him personally, Beck, in the past. And he didn't think much. He said, and he used that as a justification for defending her, saying, well, see, I'm being objective because she hates me. And I'm now thinking, after hearing your theory, that she probably hates him for a reason, that because he's not falling into
the trap. Yeah.
He's an apparatchik of some sort that she doesn't want involved with any of this.
So either she or Spencer.
You're right. I think these two people are very suspect. No. This whole event was, was out to supposedly prove one point and may have actually done damage.
Or it was intended. I think more like it was intended to do this. One thing's for sure, you will see, because the CNN guy, the guy who does the show with, who's that from, Michaela in the morning show?
Yeah, that thing.
So that guy, I don't know what the guy, he's a drip. He has no personality, otherwise I remember his name. But he was tweeting.
True.
He tweeted, he said, this type of event is not protected under the First Amendment. And then people are like, oh, really? Could you please show that to me in the Constitution? And then he comes back with this exact Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire, saying, you should really change, you should read the Constitution. So I think this guy's been read in, but he's a moron, and that's why he's already blowing the deal here by explaining.
So you would say that this event was all a setup to bring this Chaplinsky thing to the forefront.
I would, if not intended.
Because to be honest about it, let me put it this way. I never heard of this before. You just brought it up, and you never heard of it before until you found out about it from somebody who was pushing it into the forefront.
The CNN guy tweeted this.
Okay, so this is what's going on.
Yes.
We are being led to look at this and rethink our position on free speech.
Yes.
Which is a negative, which means we're now being led to believe that all the stuff that happened since Chaplinsky, whatever it is, including the flag burning being a part of free speech and all the rest of it.
Yes.
We're trying to turn that back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are. That's what the hate speech thing's all about. And this is all a setup.
And if you look at Europe, just a couple quick articles. The Dutch, we had King's Day. It used to be Queen's Day, but then we had King's Day, and people were out on the streets. It's a big deal in Holland. And they said, fuck the king, fuck the queen. This is the Dutch democracy. And they got arrested for doing this. People were arrested for saying fuck the king, fuck the queen.
Huh.
Uh-huh. And of course, no one's going to protest about that. So, because there is an actual law in the Dutch books, which goes back to the 1700s, that you cannot disparage the royal family. So this is now being called out on these people, and they're being arrested for saying fuck the king. So it's already gone in Europe. They're all about the hate speech there. That's going to be a real big one for the European Union. And this was what will come up in net neutrality laws, where it will just be unlawful. And then they'll take it even further. Unlawful because we have the Chaplinsky proof. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. This is the equivalent of yelling fire. This will be for the dumb people who don't understand Chaplinsky, who don't want to learn. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. This is the same thing. The Supreme Court has ruled this is like yelling fire in a crowded theater or fighting words. That is the opinion of the court, fighting words. You can't just throw out fighting words because it's not free speech. This is very
massive. It's a massive. It's almost like a it's crowd control. Let's face it. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah.
It's going on in France. I have.
Oh yeah.
There's an interesting little kerfluffle that took place with the mayor of Béziers going on France 24, and then talking about having a list of claiming that the Muslims are taking over the place, and this became like a big deal, and they reintroduced all these kind of interesting laws again. Throwback. There's an old law that came after World War II, and we can't do this. We can't make the list. Play the Béziers list of Muslims clip until you get bored.
It was a televised comment on Monday night that ignited a storm of controversy. In my town, Béziers, 64.6% of pupils from kindergarten to the 6th grade are Muslim. The mayor has all the children's names from every classroom. I know I don't have the right to do it. I'm sorry, but the names spell it out. Saying anything else is denying the evidence. That, however, is religious profiling and is illegal in France. The country's secular laws state no one can collect statistical data under racial or ethnic groupings. In the southern French town in question, outrage from all quarters.
Whether you're called Fatima or Sonia, it doesn't necessarily mean you're Muslim.
What is this, the Second World War?
Here's a suggestion.
Wait a minute, are these like lists? Are these like Schindler's Lists that they're making?
Well, it turns out, as you listen to this thing, it turns out they didn't make a list at all. This is just the guy came on one of these talk shows and said, he said 65% of the students today in our area are Muslim, and we know this because we made a list.
Okay, let's listen to
and the whole country blew up over this.
All the Muslim kids this little symbol, which will bring back a few painful memories.
Disgust, too, from the nation's leaders who called it immoral. President François Hollande said it went against all the values France stood for, as the government, too, put the far right-wing mayor in.
Now, did this by any chance obfuscate the passing of the cyber snooping bill in France? It must have. Everyone was outraged about this list, but meanwhile, they passed the bill where the French government now is spying on all its citizens.
Yes, there was that. That did happen. I don't know that would have gotten attention anyway.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know that you need to do this. This, I really think, was a singular event, and I think it's more connected to what you just talked about than it is about the.
I agree.
The cyber crap.
Should we talk about cyber crap real quick?
Well, I have a cyber. I don't have.
Well, first let's do the
cyber.
We need that
cyber crap stuff.
Cyber crap. I had just one cyber crap thing.
Okay.
We've been waiting for the this new initiative, this sharing of data between the private sector and the public sector. The government. We have all these centers set up, and it's all going to be about sharing the data, and all of your security is all going to be. Is going to be fine, and companies will share stuff with the government and vice versa, so they say. And we had an announcement, and I was kind of lucky just to catch it. FireEye is the name of this company, the first cybersecurity company awarded the Safety Act certification by Department of Homeland Security. What does this mean?
We talked about these guys before.
I don't think so.
I think so, but go on.
Well, I would have remembered when we look at the advisors and the board. So they have been their solution to cybersecurity under the Safety Act gives them immunity from lawsuits over information that's being shared between the private sector and the government and vice versa. So where I certainly initially thought, Google, if they share some data with the government and vice versa, then everyone's indemnified. You can't be sued. Instead, what's happening is they've picked this FireEye company, and you'll see why when you look at who's on it, to be the intermediary. They have the certification. So anyone and anybody who pumps stuff or is protected by FireEye, they don't even have to worry about it. Because the indemnification is right there in that one organization. This is surprising. Well, it's not surprising, but it kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, instead of giving it to all these individual companies and dealing with crap, they just said, you guys are certified. You're the ones. You're good to go. And they have the certification. Now, let's take a look at this company. Let's look at the leadership and management of FireEye, FireEye.com. Let me see. They got a lot of interesting people. Are you on the website? Did you get the...
No. Is it just FireEye.com?
So, yeah. David DeWalt, chairman of the board and CEO.
How do you spell FireEye?
FireEye.com. He comes from McAfee, of course, makes so much sense. We know that those guys have always been in bed together. Then we have the vice chairman. He comes from TerraSpring. That's a data center. That all makes sense. You can look at all of these really big people who have been brought in to run this company. But then when you look at the board, Just open up the board of directors, and this is where you're really going to see the fun stuff. We have, well, of course, Sequoia Capital. That's where the money comes from. We have, who is this? I've lost my page somehow.
I'll keep digging.
So it's Symantec people, it's McAfee people, it's even going back to the Norton people. We have on the board
also Bain Capital.
Yeah, Bain Capital, Alexi Capital. This is truly the piece in the middle that I didn't expect. So now anybody can sign up with these guys, and they're going to make $1 billion. I think they actually are public. I should have looked at, I think they are public. They probably had a little stock jump there. People got in on that. Everything good to go. And I wonder if anyone will even bother to get a certification. Just sign up here. Just checklist, another thing for the list for the CEO. Good to go. Done.
That's just genius.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. I was taken aback. Oh, could have known this. So keep our eye on those guys.
Just genius.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at investor relations to see what I can deal with the stock.
That's something we should look
well,
at.
Let's take a little breather here and play a clip from to see what's going on in the mainstream, the number one show in America.
Which is, what is the number one show?
NCIS on CBS. They always have some messaging going on that we have to be aware of. And so let's do the ISIS clip in American NCIS, American ISIS.
How come I don't see a clip that says
The Calling, looking for The Calling.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got it.
Pandemic. Group in question is gaining notoriety under a number of calling cards worldwide.
Prizvania Seming Yaod Emet.
Or simply translated, The Calling.
Where are they? The heart of the cell is in Iraq, but their reach is unlimited and focused.
Calling is making a strong push to recruit children.
On the internet.
Exactly. They're employing chat rooms, first-person shooter games, even cartoons, in an effort to weaponize children as young as 10.
The younger they are, the less they look like a threat.
And the cell's mission? They see themselves as underdogs, standing against their oppressors.
Essentially, The Calling is a twisted Peter Pan recruiting an international band of lost boys.
It's a good metaphor.
Thank you.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children? Ow!
ISIS. We will follow them to the gates of hell. ISIS.
Nice messaging, kids. It's all the kids. Recruiting the kids.
It's funny because NCIS and NCIS LA have opposite messages. NCIS LA, I said this before on the show, has kind of the anti-government messages. But NCIS sticks to these real high concept. Oh, what you just read about, some kid got recruited somewhere and they're going to Syria. That's going to be on the show because it's going to be happening here in the United States. And the show was about some kid who blew himself up and chopped somebody's head off. And it's just horrible. Horrible. But entertaining. Very well-structured show.
Meanwhile, I would just go ahead.
Well, meanwhile, on that, I'm watching the new Defense Department guy.
This is an interesting guy. Yeah, a good guy, I think. I think he might be a good guy.
Well, I don't know. He seems like a dummy. And I thought Obama stammered, but when you listen to this question given by one of the House, or I think it was a Senate committee, grilling him about, what the Defense Department. So this was a show to try to indicate to the public that the poor bastards in the Defense Department aren't getting enough money. We don't know the $700 billion is not enough. They need more money.
Was this the Appropriations Committee?
Yeah, they had Dempsey there, and he's whining about not having enough money. And he says, this will be my last hearing. I guess he's getting outed. Not outed, but ousted.
Dempsey is out. Yeah, the new guy is in. Yeah.
The new guy's coming in.
Yeah.
But this guy, the Defense Department head guy, the droopy dog character.
Dunford is his name.
He comes in and... they ask him about something, which is a new initiative. They're going to spend more taxpayer money on yet another, what to me sounds like DARPA. DARPA 2, They're going to keep DARPA, of course, but they're going to set up a shop in Silicon Valley, and they're going to put a bunch of retirees and hotshots in there to keep tabs on the technologies that maybe the Defense Department would find useful, which I thought DARPA did that.
Are you ready? I want to play this clip.
Play it. But here's one thing I want you to listen for. When he's asked how much money does it cost, I want you to listen to the stammering.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I noticed that in the submission that we have before us this morning, you've created or proposed to create a new unit, a point of partnership, so-called, apparently to be led by a civilian with a military deputy and staffed with an elite team of active duty, reserve, and civilian personnel. It sounds like an ambitious undertaking and maybe complicated. And there is the suggestion that the team will look for breakthroughs in emerging technologies. I wonder if you could let us know, how much do you think this is going to cost, and how long will it take to be up and running?
I surely can provide you with the costs, and I will do so. As far as the mechanism is concerned, it's an important effort. It's a experimental effort. This is our so-called Defense Innovation Unit experimental that I announced the creation of about a week and a half ago. It has a couple of things that it brings together, Mr. Chairman. One is our need to continue to be on the cutting edge, especially the cyber edge represented by the Silicon Valley tech industry.
Another money grab for cyber.
Well, the Appropriations Committee oversees everything, including the sequestration. And the sequestration is not just the military. So we need to get the American public on board. Whatever this guy said, no one gives a shit. No one saw that. American public doesn't care. That's just for stuff that's going on the Hill. Lindsey Graham tried a novel approach. He tried something new. He brought in a special guest, tried to talk about what's going on, and here is the special guest.
Mr. Chairman, this is the most powerful legislative body in the world.
Do you recognize the voice?
No.
Elton John, Sir Elton John, in our Congress.
Oh,
at a hearing.
Mr. Chairman, this is
Elton
the most
John, Lindsey Graham. Huh. Wonder what the similar. What's similar about Lindsey Graham and Elton John? Is there any?
They both wear wigs.
They both wear wigs. That's it.
Legislative body in the world, and this Congress indeed has the power to end AIDS. You have the power to maintain America's historic commitment to leading the global campaign against this disease. I'm here today to ask you to use that power, to seize this window of opportunity to change the course of history. And one day soon, I hope to extend my thanks to you, to this Congress, to the United States of America, not only for fighting this disease, but for ending it once and for all. Thank you.
Now, Elton John just said, with one stroke of the pen, we could end AIDS.
Huh.
And
how does that work?
Well, first, let's listen to Lindsey Graham explain what needs to be done. What could it be? What would we need?
Compared to most, we're incredibly rich. But our richness is not in our bank account. I think it is in our attitude and the way the American people engage the world. If I had to give one example to someone from far away to explain America, I would use this account. This account represents the best of the American people. It's transparent, it is well managed, it is saving lives and changing the world. Having said that, this account is at risk. Sequestration budget cuts, if fully enacted, will devastate the ability of this account and others to fulfill its promise.
So what happened is PEPFAR, which was started by George W. Bush, is set to lose, quote, lose $43 million, where with most cases with the sequestration, it stops the increase of budget. So I'm not sure if they're actually getting cut 43% or they don't get their 43% increase for PEPFAR. And that's what lured Elton John. And that's why he said, well, with one stroke of the pen, just by ending the sequestration, you can stop AIDS. And the reason why you can stop AIDS, he says, at this point, we have the medicine, we have the drugs, but people, the PEPFAR, particularly for Africa, people are ashamed. There's stigma against it. If we can change that, which PEPFAR has been doing, but now is at risk, then we can actually stop AIDS entirely. That's what his message was. But that's not how it played out with Lindsey. He's just like, oh, yes, oh, my God, people are going to die. Oh, the sequestration needs to end. And somehow Graham got him there. But it didn't get any play. I didn't see anybody doing anything with Elton John.
That's interesting.
So I would like to do, this is rare occasion. Elton John had a little soliloquy, and I cut a piece out of it, which really was beautiful. And he's not evil, but he says some funny things. And this is actually going to be a positive clip on the show. Are you ready for that? Have we ever done a really
positive clip?
It may be
happy news.
I don't think this is good.
Hold on a second. Let me get my seat. I gotta.
But I want to do something happy. I want to play something happy from Elton John. I need a little pixie dust. I'll sprinkle some pixie dust. Happy, happy, happy.
Have you been able to still raise adequate amount of funds, even though the economy's been crippled throughout the world? Are people still giving?
They are. We have many, many other rivals, and very, very, there's a lot of people suffering from many diseases. But as PEPFAR has done, it's treated malaria and TB, and it's the more you teach people to, as Rick was saying, to train people to train in countries where they haven't got enough medical staff. If you train people to look after people, in Africa, for example, when we started, people aren't used to taking a tablet, a pill. They're not used to that. Right. They're used to having their local traditional healer give them something. Right. So it's a matter of education. We had a meeting last night, and the camaraderie and the feeling I get from the American people is so touching. Yeah. You have to remember, I'm British. I've come over here in 1970, and this country gave everything to me as a professional musician, and it's given everything to me as a human being. And the strength and the willingness to help people in the rest of the world has touched me so much. It was Ryan White who pointed out to me that my life was completely disordered. I was a drug addict. I was a self-obsessed asshole, excuse me. And Ryan White and his wonderful family turned my life around because he was a young boy who had AIDS. He was a hemophiliac. He was treated very badly by people who were ignorant and knew better. And he never got angry about it, and he forgave. We have to have compassion. We have to have forgiveness. We have to have inclusion of everybody, whether it's intravenous drug users, whether it's prisoners, whether it's people who are gay, whether it's transgender people. We are all human beings. We're all children of God. And if we throw that away, then we're throwing everything down the drain. So when I explain this to people, and people are good people, I believe in the goodness of the human spirit.
It's incredible that it took a Brit to say something like this to the American public. But then, of course, it fell completely flat and no one heard about it at all.
Yeah, he didn't say it to the American public because nobody picked it up.
Correct. Which I'm sure he's irked about.
I'm sure he was promised some coverage.
Yeah.
But it's not on the list. He's not on the list.
He's not on the list. Let's get back from the happy news. Let's go away.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
It was a short list today. But it is a list, beginning with Arthur Gobbets in Zandam. Zandam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He says, better sequential, be something I don't understand a word he says. Ted O'Neill, $100, parts unknown. Sir John Martinez, $66.66 in Gilroy, California. He says, thanks for staying with it. Tice Browers in Deventer.
Daventer, one of our very successful No Agenda artists, Tice.
Yes, one of the very best, as a matter of fact. 6660. Lauren Smith, Gainsborough, Lincolnshire, UK. 5515. See how fast it drops. Jason Daniels. I'm telling you, they all hate their mom. 5515, Dallas, Texas. Actually, these people don't. It's everybody else. Nick Ismendi in Flint, Michigan. 5515. Dame Bang Bang is back. And she wants to shout out to Sir Alex in Santa Maria and his elegant wife for coming out to support the Brawlin' Betties as we took on the Angel City Rocket Queens. Well,
is that roller derby?
Roller derby.
Nice.
Wow. By the way, Nick, we have a birthday thing coming up for you. Paul Webb in Twickenham, Middlesex, UK. That's nice. We got some UK people who will be interested in hearing our analysis of the upcoming election. Alexander Sokovy in Moscow.
Yep,
there he is again. Mm-hmm. Brian Scazzaro in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And these are all $50 donors. We're down that part already, and here they are. Brian Scazzaro, Corey McDonald in Richfield, Minnesota. Kevin Johnson in Phoenix, Arizona. Christopher Walker in De Pere, Wisconsin. Matthew Januszewski in Chicago, Illinois. Adam Beck in Las Vegas, Nevada. And last but not least, Carol Garrett in Eureka, Kansas. That's it.
Okay, that's short.
It's a short list.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for your support of the best podcast in the universe. It is highly appreciated. Also, everybody under $50, mainly for anonymity purposes, and our monthly subscribers, thank you so much. Particularly on days like this, at least we have something to go on when everything else is a little bit short. We appreciate it.
Yes, so we'll be eating bugs.
Do we need... Yeah, we'll talk about the bugs in a minute. Don't worry.
Dvorak.org/NA.
It'll be real short and sweet today. Nick Asmendi says happy birthday to his brother Mason and their mom, both celebrated on the 3rd of May. And we say happy birthday to you from the staff and management here at the offices of the best podcast in the universe. All right, then we have two knightings. We need Sokovy Alexander to step up to the podium here. You got your blade there, John?
Yeah,
Okay, bladage has been presented. We also want Scott Lavender. Both of you, please, gentlemen, come on up. I am very proud to induct you both into the round table, the Knights and the Dames of the No Agenda Show, and I hereby officially pronounce-icate thee Black Knight, Sir Amen Fistbump, and Sir Alexander, Knight of Mother Russia. For you, gentlemen, we have a great lineup. We've got Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Drama and DMT, Bad Science and Perky Breast, Progressive Rock and Russian Imperial Stout, Sake and Sushi, Whiskey and Wet Pipes, Cuban Cigars and Single Malt Scotch, Geishas and Sake, Bong Hits and Bourbon, and obviously we have mutton and mead if that's what you're into. And go to noagendanation.com/rings and let us know where we can send everything off to you. And please tweet that so we can retweet that around the internets.
Yes, and Eric will get most of these things shipped in the next. Somebody wrote in complaining.
Someone told me, actually I hear this a lot, that people fall asleep listening to the show.
Oh, good. Donate to the show.
I had a better idea.
Okay, Google. Donate to the show. Okay, I'm sorry.
I had a better idea. No, but I think we can condition people. I'd like to.
Are we that dull?
Shh, hold on a second. So people are asleep right now, and I want to program something in their brain, okay? So the idea is I'm going to give them a code word, a trigger word, and then whenever someone hears that trigger word, they're going to shout, NoAgendaShow.com, okay? So I'm thinking if we give them, just whenever it happens, whenever you hear in the morning, which is nice because it can happen accidentally, then people will shout that. So here it is. You are in a warm bath. Clouds surround you. And whenever you hear in the morning, you will immediately say, NoAgendaShow.com. That is all.
NoAgendaShow.com. NoAgendaShow.com.
It has to be more of a screen. I'll say in the morning, NoAgendaShow.com.
Yeah, the problem with that is it wakes them up. We'll see. Well, it might. I mean, when I hear in the morning, I always want to clip it.
Well, what actually happened is everybody who was listening wasn't asleep. I just programmed them. They won't be able to get away from it now.
Well,
it's my trick.
How can you? Well, there's two more things I want to talk about.
Yeah, German wings.
Well, but let's take a break. I have another little. I'm going to just. It's almost an Ask Adam, but it's not quite. So I was watching television. And I saw this commercial. I've seen it a couple of times, so I clipped it. This is the whole commercial. It's like a short commercial. I think it's 15 seconds. It's from Staples, and it's the pointless Staples commercial clip. And I'm going to, as you listen to it, tell me what the point of this commercial actually is.
We need coffee.
Got it right here.
Cups.
12-ounce, 8-ounce recyclable.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters, K-Cups.
Hazelnut, French vanilla, French roast, dark, light, medium, bold, extra bold.
And decaf.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
No reason.
Make on budget happen, make caffeinated happen. Staples, make more happen.
Yeah, Staples is trying to rebrand themselves as a place to hang out and pick up really wired chicks.
Well, I'm thinking that now that I heard it again, I think I understand what the mechanism here is they're trying to convey as a joke. This woman is wired on non-decaffeinated coffee, and when he suggested with the caffeinated coffee, and when he suggested decaffeinated, she freaks out because she likes caffeinated coffee. That's why she's talking so fast.
Okay.
That's it. That's the joke.
Yeah, well, it's not that great.
Not that great. It sucks.
Yeah.
It stinks. Okay.
You put in the newsletter German wings.
I had that in there because I have a clip, which is the German wings update, and this seemed like a stretch to me that they could do all this, and I knew that you'd want to talk about it, so I do have the intro clip and then give you a little moment to talk about it. I teased it in the newsletter.
A chilling new disclosure today in that March airline disaster in France. Investigators now say the German pilot had practiced flying into a mountainside. Tom Clark of Independent Television News reports.
We will never know exactly when Andreas Lubitz decided to crash Germanwings Flight 4525. But today, compelling evidence emerged that he rehearsed the descent that later killed 150 people, including himself. Using details from the plane's charred and mangled flight and voice data recorders, investigators have reconstructed Lubitz's actions on the earlier outbound flight from Dusseldorf to Barcelona. Just before 7:20, the captain left the cockpit. Lubitz, now in control, put the plane into a planned descent. But seconds later, he set the aircraft to dive to 100 feet before swiftly correcting the settings. During the next few minutes, he instructed the plane to plunge 4 more times. Then, less than 5 minutes after he left, the captain knocked to re-enter. Lubitz reset the controls to the correct altitude.
The captain didn't know because the co-pilot's tests during the outgoing flight happened during a normal pre-programmed descent, and it didn't have any effect on the plane's trajectory.
The report also reveals that Lubitz ignored 11 radio calls from air traffic controllers and 3 from French air defense forces. The investigation will now focus on how a mentally unstable man came to be in control of a passenger plane, and how the line between passenger safety and medical confidentiality can be redrawn.
So this had initially escaped my attention until you sent out the newsletter, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, if they know, they now claim to know that the co-pilot Lubitz, that he apparently rehearsed. In fact, I have a quick clip from the French spokeshole for BEA. This is not necessarily an aviation investigation organization. It's the government. It's the French government who have some things that they need to communicate. And as you'll hear this Frenchman say, short clip, the pilot rehearsed his death descent on the first leg of the trip.
First flight of the morning before the flight of the accident, which was from Düsseldorf to Barcelona. After the ATC had ordered the aircraft to descend, and while the commander of the flight had left the cockpit, the co-pilot, who was alone in the cockpit, did several times action the altitude select command of the autopilot, so it was a repeat of the action he did on the accident flight.
Okay, so this professional is saying two things. One, on the first leg of the flight, the captain left the flight deck. So on this relatively short flight, having him go pee one time is something, but doing that twice on this very short flight, and how do they know he did that? Because the the cockpit voice recorder, which is black box number 1, they say they found that could not include, just by definition of the cockpit voice recorder, which only records 30 minutes, it could not include the first leg of the flight. So how do they have that information? They actually don't. They're just putting that together because, unbeknownst to me, they found the flight data recorder. And this was news to me, and why did I miss the news that they found the flight data recorder, which records about, I think it's 24, 25 hours of all the plane's data. Now, you'll recall that when all the official reports said, we have the voice cockpit recorder, and from that we can deduce a number of things that were very dubious by all accounts, certainly from airline professionals. But they said eventually they found the flight data recorder, but the memory chip was gone. Memory chip was gone for a couple of days. Oh, well, we can't find it. And then we came up with this memory chip from a cell phone, and this was a little side distraction. And I think it was kind of, we found some memory chip, and this was of everyone dying going down the plane. And I started to look around. I didn't know this. What happened? Every single article about this, the data recorder, goes like this. The flight data recorder from last month's Germanwings crash in the French Alps has been found, French authorities said. Notice they don't say the memory card, which is completely bullshit because there are no loose memory cards in this thing. The device is expected to provide crucial evidence about what happened in the final moments before flight 9525 crashed. Separately, so that's the first line. But that's not what the news story was. Separately, German prosecutors said Lubitz appeared to have researched suicide methods in the days before the plane crashed. They found his iPad. Do you remember this? This was the news story. Oh, we found his iPad. Oh, he's been investigating, he's been rehearsing, been doing all this stuff. Oh, yeah, we found the data recorder. But the iPad, there was no mention that I saw on any new television news about this data recorder. So now they apparently have the flight data recorder, and now they have all this information. Bullshit. It had enough time to go falsify all this data, whatever they were doing in the 5, 6, 7, 8 days, maybe even longer, that the so-called memory chip was gone. This is a cover-up. And I'd like to see the data. Show me the data that you have. Then I'll just go back to what we discussed previously, that there is something called the uninterruptible autopilot. And to thwart that story, they're now saying that they have data from the flight data recorder that proves that he not only set the different altitude, but he also manually did an override on the thrust, which was the whole discrepancy in their story that said that he was accelerating the aircraft into this descent into the mountains. But if you look at the actual graph from independent ADS-B data, which any amateur can receive that and put it together, the line is so straight and narrow, it was not hand-flown. You can't do 400 miles an hour below 10,000 feet and fly that thing straight. You can't. So now they're saying, he practiced, he input all this information, we have the proof, nothing to see here. We found the flight data recorder, thank God, and this is how it worked, instead of any other opportunity. So
it continues.
Yeah, but I especially like the way the flight data recorder. That's a big event that they found that.
Yeah, it wasn't covered.
No, the same. You search around. The article is, we found the data recorder and the iPad. Oh my God, the iPad. iPad. And
now the iPad could survive, but okay.
No, it was at his house. The iPad was at his house.
It's at his house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the big news. So.
Oh, that could be bullcrap. I mean, that's.
Yeah, that was a cover-up for the.
Generally speaking, I should say, by the way, most of these pilots who have iPads would have them in that big giant thing they carry on the plane. You'd take your iPad with you.
Well, maybe
you use it as an entertainment device when you're stuck at the hotel or whatever.
Maybe he had more than one iPad. I don't know.
Nobody has more than one iPad unless they're working in tech.
Yeah. Then maybe we should talk briefly about Baltimore, just a little update on what's going on, particularly the narrative around it. Three things, actually. Soledad O'Brien, this goes back to the T word, which has just been baffling about this now being a racial slur, and you can't use the word thug anymore, and certainly not if you're white. And just taking words away pisses me off. Soledad O'Brien, who we know from, is it Tech TV? What was she doing? She was doing some...
The Site on MSNBC.
The Site, right. Then she got fired. We kind of covered that she was doing the morning.
Well, she didn't get fired from the Site.
No, she got fired from CNN.
She was on the fast track to become one of the multi-culti NBC anchors.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, there was a disagreement. Out she goes.
So
then she went to CNN, I believe, and now she's really making more money at Al Jazeera.
Yeah, but she is also a consultant and does things for CNN.
She's making money.
Here's her little piece. They brought her in for this. And is she... What is her ethnicity? Is she black, brown? She looks brown, but is she...
She's a multicultural. You cannot identify her ethnicity, but I don't know what she is. Nobody knows. Soledad O'Brien. She's obviously Irish and Mexican.
There you go. And she's a wonderful woman.
So is the T word the new N word? And should people in the media use it or avoid it? Why do words and pictures, for that matter so much? Joining me now is Soledad O'Brien, CEO of Starfish Media Group, a former CNN anchor who hosted the documentary Black in America. Soledad, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
My pleasure.
Why has thug become such a loaded word?
Listen, I think what...
Listen. She's good at it, though, when it comes to messaging. Listen.
Why has thug become such a loaded word?
Listen, I think what the Baltimore City Councilman Carl Stokes was trying to tell Erin Burnett is that thug is a proxy, is a word that we use instead of the N-word. And I think that's really true. I can't...
Wait, but she thinks it's really true because she has an example. She has an example.
Use instead of the N-word. And I think that's really true. I can't think of a situation where there's ever been a headline or someone has called a white young person who's in the middle of a violent protest demonstration, whatever, a thug. We use it all the time when we're talking about people in the inner city.
No, Soledad. I would suggest everyone search for Occupy Wall Street. And it was predominantly white kids in Occupy Wall Street. They were called thugs in every single news report. And were they rioting? Yeah. Was there trouble going on with the police? Yeah. So it's just not true.
This comes from this may have been initiated by the Daily Kos, where somebody challenges. Yeah, I agree with that. And that is absolutely the case. And Mexicans in California are often called thugs, especially if they're gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
The number of the gang members of Mexican gangs in Oakland and elsewhere in Southern California mostly are commonly called thugs.
Yeah.
So this is bullcrap. So the Daily Kos has got this thugification of young black victims of white violence. Is thug the new N-R? And this ran in October of last year.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that's a good find.
Sean King being the...
That's a good find.
Yes.
I like that.
And he goes on claiming that this never happens at a white. Yet not only are African-American perpetrators of violence labeled as thugs, but so are victims. And it's always blacks. So I believe this is, and the Daily Kos has some, this guy has a very long article. He brings in Trayvon Martin, and he's a thug, and Oscar Grant, all these. That may be the genesis right there.
I also found
the idea, because it's bull crap.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure what sense it makes if you're really just trying to push forward an agenda, and we already made the connection between the Freddie Gray's family attorney, which is this powerhouse from the black elite in America, powerhouse guy who has supported the elected official, what's her name, Mosby, who is in charge of this investigation and in charge of arresting these officers and really moving the message in the direction that I think certainly quieted things down. And you and I discussed that this seemed like we were going towards a socialist type of agenda being pushed forward by these groups. And I found this video, and I clipped a little bit of it, of Mosby a couple days before. This is after the event, but a couple days before she came out and said, okay, these guys are being arrested. There's sufficient evidence to, or what is it? Not evidence, suspicion. And there's a circumstantial evidence, whatever it is, that she had them arrested. And now we're going to move forward without the grand jury. But she was speaking at a prayer group. Let's see if I can find the name of this group. Anyway, I pulled a little piece out of it and just thought it was interesting to hear her speak in a different cadence, a different manner with this prayer group.
George, I think that politics, of course, plays a role.
Oops, sorry. That would be this one.
I appreciate your support, Bishop. You've been there for me from the very beginning. Reverend Gilliard, Bishop Marcus Johnson. All of you have been here for me, Lieutenant Colonel Russell. For the past 2 years, as we've gone through our communities. This is not something new that we just started doing. That's right. Yeah. In the role that I'm in now, I can't necessarily do that, but please know that my heart is with you. Yeah. Nothing transcends the power of prayer. And let me tell you, our young people, I know that they're called thugs. Those are young people crying out. There's a sense of hopelessness in this city. And there's nobody that can touch them the way that you all can. The way that we can. And I can't do that in my capacity right now, but I know that you all have the ability of doing it. Our time to do it, and I've been saying this for the past 2 years. This is a bubbling up, a culmination of that hopelessness. Nothing transcends the power of God, and we have work to do. We have work to do. We need to get out there on the streets and talk to these young people. They are not thugs. They are our children, and they need us. They need us now. So I appreciate your support, and you all have big shoulders that right now I have a lot on me, but nothing that the Lord has. I'm prepared. So I appreciate you. And please continue to pray. Pray for me. Pray for our city. Pray for our young people.
There you go. So this is before she came out and had the officers arrested. But I need to say before we play this next bit, I do need to read you Freddie Gray's rap sheet. Because they're all talking about some knife on the television. Oh, I give a crap about your damn knife, man. Shut up already. This guy had quite a rap sheet. I think he had 30 arrests, mostly for intent or distributing drugs, mainly cocaine. That's not really mentioned anywhere, I don't think.
Be racist.
Right. Racist if we talk about it that way, yeah. Then Juan Williams. And he said something very interesting. He mentioned something which I guess I knew about, but I'd forgotten. I went back and looked it up. Here he is. I don't know what show he's on. And Juan Williams, is he conservative? Is he a Republican?
No.
He's black.
No, he can't be black. It's impossible.
Oh, he can't be the Republican. Yeah, he can't be Republican if he's black.
Yes, and he gets paid good money by Fox mostly to represent the Democrat thinking. He's an Obama bot.
Well, listen to what the Obama bot says.
George, I think that politics, of course, plays a role in all of our functions. I mean, obviously, she's an elected official. She's not there appointed or something like that. She's an elected official. And I think it's appropriate that people are aware of the larger social context here, which is that there is a standing grievance in the black community, especially among poor black people, about treatment by the police. I mean, let's cut to the chase here. The reality is you have concentrated areas of poverty in this country, extreme poverty. You put up some of the numbers before about how impoverished that neighborhood is in Baltimore, school dropout rates, unemployment, and the like. And then we ask police to go in there and deal with the chaos, the disorder, the extreme violence that's part of those communities. And it's very difficult to put police in that position. But once you do, the question is then, is it fair for police to, well, be abusive, be brutal in treating those people? And of course, the political structure that George was talking about just a moment ago has often said they are our blue line against that chaos spreading, affecting downtown business districts and middle-class neighborhoods. But the reality is, you go back to the Moynihan report, Chris, almost 50 years ago now, Daniel Patrick Moynihan had it right. The breakdown of the family, high single-parent families, that's who those kids were that were rioting in Baltimore this week, who set that city on fire.
So this report, known as the Negro Family, the Case for National Action, which was put together by Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who later became U.S. Senator, was very controversial at the time. And this is around 50 years ago when I was born. Is probably why I don't know. But in '65, and so here we have a Black American liberal saying, the Moynihan report was right, where everyone was freaking out over this, particularly the Black communities. Say this is racist. This whole report is racist. Where the report said, the culture of the Black family and out of wedlock birth rate, which at that time, according to the report, was 25%. So that is what's really destroying the Black community. Very interesting for him to pull this out and say this. And there was outrage about this report. Do you remember any of this? The Moynihan report?
Actually, I don't remember the release, but I do remember the what came during that era, which was the Black Panthers, the Black Power, James Brown, Black and I'm Strong, whatever that song was. I'm Black and I'm Proud. That whole thing came, I don't know, it was triggered by that particular report, but it wouldn't surprise me that people were upset about it.
Well, this was condemned by Jesse.
When the reality is pointed out, which the report was trying to do, I believe, there's always backlash because it doesn't really apply to everybody. And I don't know what's going on here with him bringing that thing back up.
Here's what I think. And I see people in our chat room who are completely infected by the mainstream, the comments that are being made. It doesn't give a cop the right to. We don't know shit about what happened, really. Okay,
it doesn't give a
cop. We don't.
The chat room when it comes to any of these borderline issues
doesn't matter.
Always reflective of the mainstream media's culture.
So
they're clueless.
Here's what I think is going on. I think Juan Williams actually sent a very good message, which no one will hear. It was completely misunderstood. If Black Americans who are impoverished Black Americans in ghetto cities, once they figure out that it's their own culture that has been managed this way, has been propagated, and I will say to a certain extent, and I'm so glad I saw the LBJ play, because 1963 through 1965, we're going through the Civil Rights Bill. The Democrats are fucking super racist. Super racist, and this play really brings it back. No one wants them to have a vote. No one wants the Black Democrats from Missouri, I think, or Mississippi, to have a seat at the convention, the Democratic convention. No Negroes, get the blacks away. The Democratic Party.
Yeah,
and
none of this surprises me.
No, but people don't understand. Lincoln was a Republican. It's the Democratic Party who were the racists during the race riots and the race issues and the Civil Liberties Act. It was the Democrats the Republicans were pushing for equality. And once the Black impoverished Americans figure out that the Democrats have been screwing them for 50 years, they'll all vote Republican. And that's why that's why the black-white thing has to be kept going.
No, that's the point. They never will vote Republican because it's been established that the Republicans are the bad guys, and it's all through brainwashing, propaganda, and all the rest of it. And it worked. And we've watched it with the women thing. We've watched how they have demonized Republicans as women haters, the war against women.
Yep.
And we've documented this on this show to an extreme, and it just keeps marching forward. And the Republicans, I think, are naively just like, oh, well, yeah, no, we're not.
Idiots.
They're idiots. They're total idiots.
They're stupid idiots.
Yeah, the Democrats, I think your analysis is correct, but I do have the belief that the Democrats are smarter than the Republicans.
The actual operatives may be the people who...
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Clintons.
Right, yeah.
The people who are really behind the keeping the corruption going the way it's going. It's just very, very obvious.
And that's why we continue to be shoveled this black-white stuff. So we focus on racism and our horrible history. And let me tell you, we're not the worst in the world when it comes to slavery. But, anyway,
okay.
It's working fine. So out of this comes body cameras. That conversation's ongoing. I have a couple clips here from, this is up your neck of the woods, San Francisco public defender regarding body cameras for police. Interesting little clip, I think.
An officer, this is not a non-contact sport, police work. People do go down. People are wrestled to the ground. We're not paid to lose confrontations. And, just to appease the far left, we're not going to allow our officers to go out there and be injured because they're not going to do their job.
Now, let's talk about
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
There's been a study.
San Francisco, by the way, has one of the worst, most corrupt, brutal police departments in the United States.
Interesting analysis here from a representative, I think maybe from the police union, also San Francisco.
There's been a study that was done of Rialto, which is a police department that has had the cameras for a number of years. They found that excessive force went down by 50% and that complaints by citizens went down by 90%.
Again, Jeff Adachi is public defender for the city and county of San Francisco, and Gary Delanis is past president of the San Francisco Police Officers Association, now working as a political consultant for the union. And Gary, from everything I've read, the union supports cameras, but again sees concerns with respect to the details we've been fleshing out here. And let me just find out what you are in disagreement with Jeff Adachi.
Well, the last statement, which would be indicative of what we think we will hear. For example, the report of complaints, the report of excessive force, it gives the impression that cops are committing excessive force a lot less, and we would disagree with that theory. We would say that now that people are on camera, they're not going to be able to go down and lie about an encounter with cops. Therefore, they're not going to go down and report encounters with cops. Let me say this. Our cops do not fear body cameras. As a matter of fact, we embrace the program.
So this is interesting. I hadn't thought about that. They say when you wear body cameras, then reports of abuse go down, and a lot of that they portend is because people, now there's evidence and people can't go lying and saying that he did this, that, or the other. Interesting take. And
I like it.
And then finally, here's a stock tip.
What about the concern over storing all these terabytes of video data? I mean, in terms of the public access to them, I realize this is a big issue too, but just the storing itself.
Well, if I had some extra money, I'd probably go out and invest it in some of these companies that are going to be doing evidence storage. There's one called evidence.com. They're the major player out there. And basically what they do is they archive, all this video and they make it available. And it's kind of scary in a way because these private companies are then going to be controlling this very, public data. And they'll have the decision-making power.
Another element of the privacy question, although you're giving somebody a good stock tip.
Yeah, there you go. They'll all be stored by evidence.com. You can get an account and you can go get
It's not a stock tip if it's not a stock.
It's not publicly traded?
No.
Oh, no, that would be too nice. I only have two more things I need to discuss with you.
Let's get that. I want to get the British election thing, at least the preliminary part, out of the way, because we promised, and I think that our audience in the UK and America especially, because nobody really covers this thing very well. We have a bunch
even I turned on BBC World News. I can't. I tried to listen to BBC Radio. It's just I don't think they're allowed to report really. They don't do polling.
The one thing that's clear that's showing up in the British newspapers when I started plowing through these newspapers, including the Independent, which is anything but, is that the Queen is going to step in.
Oh, she has that power.
This is what they don't really want to talk about, at least to our audience.
That's right.
The United States audience. because we think that the queen is just symbolic.
It's symbolic, yeah.
And they live in all these houses and symbolic, and
they own England, they own Canada, they own Australia.
They're taste makers, and they have their own couple private islands that aren't even part of the UN registry.
Yeah. So she's going to step in. This is interesting. I like this.
She may have to. She gave a talk saying she's going to step in if David Cameron, after these elections are over, decides to just stay as prime minister, because unless he got the numbers, and he doesn't look like he's going to have them. And she made a statement about this which was a threat.
Huh.
And of course, we believe was behind the killing of Diana and all the rest.
She's obviously a reptile.
Well, she's going to live as long as a turtle. Whatever the case.
Hey,
and I said it
again.
She's going to step in. And this is the thing that is always overlooked by us. We don't believe that she's real.
I believe she's real.
I do. I've always, especially after we started doing the show and you started looking into it. Yeah, she's real. She has a lot of power, but she doesn't like to do the day-to-day. Obviously, none of the day-to-day. But she's like the chairman of the board for all practical purposes. So this election is going to be interesting. It's been kept as it's neck and neck.
Never seen before in history. That's what I'm seeing. Never seen this kind of race.
Well, it's going to get worse according to most of the observers. But I got two clips I can play, either just to kind of a background on what's going on with this election, or the longer clip, which actually brings everybody up to speed.
Yeah, well, let's do it. This is the detailed rundown?
Detailed one,
yes.
I
want to hear this for sure.
In order to govern by itself, a party needs an outright majority of 326 seats. But opinion polls suggest neither of the two largest parties, Conservative and Labour, will get there on their own. David Cameron's Tories have blamed Britain's troubles on the Labour government that preceded them.
I feel like the farmer. I feel like the firefighter hosing down the burning building. And there's Ed Miliband, the arsonist, the guy that lit the building in the first place, saying you ought to go a bit faster. You ought to do a bit more.
And Labour leader Miliband has answered in kind.
I'm going to fight every step of the way for a Britain that can do so much better than it can under David Cameron. Now, my opponents might want to start talking about the outcome of an election that hasn't happened. I'm going to focus on getting the right outcome of that election for the working people of our country.
But it's almost a given that the outcome will mean forming a coalition that includes smaller parties. The Liberal Democrats, led by Deputy Minister Nick Clegg, are one of those parties. In the last government, they joined a coalition with the Conservatives. But this time around, they're not tipping their hand.
We now need to await the judgment of the British people about what they prefer. Do they prefer the stability that the Liberal Democrats offer, or the shambles and chaos of a lurch to the right or the left?
The lurch to the right refers to the growing support for UKIP, or the United Kingdom Independence Party, led by Nigel Farage. Its main objective is to leave the European Union.
Brilliant. Well done. We want to be good neighbours with our European friends, but we desperately seek a referendum so that we can set this country free from political union.
On the left, the Scottish Nationalist Party, under 44-year-old Nicola Sturgeon. The SNP is riding a wave of progressive enthusiasm after last year's failed independence vote.
A vote for this SNP manifesto on May the 7th will make Scotland's voice heard at Westminster more strongly than it has ever been before.
The SNP surge has Ed Miliband struggling to hold Labour's 41 seats in Scotland and ruling out any kind of deal with them. All of which left the candidates and the British people waiting today to see if a post-election shambles lies around the corner.
That is an omen.
It is my understanding, I think this is most likely to play out. It is my understanding that when there is, because you have to have a coalition, you have to have a majority, and you can make coalitions in the British system. If it is kind of a hung election, then there's 48 hours, I believe, and this comes from the cabinet manual from 2010, and this is kind of new rules, and we had a strange coalition negotiation for that election. Quote, makes clear it is parliamentary legitimacy which is crucial in allowing a government to function. And it will be the media who is going to analyze and tell the British slaves what is legitimate. I'm not sure what that is. I doubt it's going to be bringing in the Scots, but also doubtful it would be UKIP. But it will be the media who decides this for you. That's what and then there's no poll. It's just there'll be 48 hours of nonstop indoctrination to make whatever decision it's supposed to be. I don't know what it's going to be.
Well, there's a lot of reports saying that this is going to take a couple of weeks. And I think
that's even better. That's even better because the media in the UK, it's the newspapers. It's the newspaper. That's really where people get their opinions, form their opinions. Right. That's traditionally been their deal.
But there's at least a variety of opinions that you can get from the news.
And this is the point where you can really get the ad sales guys out front to do their job.
There's money to be made in the newspaper business.
So lead me into this. You have a second one, or
the second was the introduction to the thing. I don't think it's necessary to play it. I just been trying to follow this for today's show to see if there's any trends emerging, and we're just going to have to wait. I think by Sunday we'll have a
good idea what's going
to go on, and it may actually become. I don't know how UKIP did it. Farage was on Twitter showing indicating they did well, but you don't know. The British are very unpredictable, it seems. I mean, they used to go just back and forth between the two parties, with the Liberal Democrats being the third party that would never get anywhere, but they're always there hanging around.
Unprecedented, I tell you, Mr. DeVorg. Unprecedented this election
is. That's because of these Scots.
Yeah. They may turn out to be well, that's what everyone's saying, so I doubt it's going to be true. There'll be something else. We'll see.
Well, who expected right now? The Cameron's operation still doesn't have the majority as we speak. When he's running the place, he had to do a deal with the Liberal Democrats, which are very
wet rags.
Well, they're
like a dish rag
in some ways. Yeah. And so the Conservatives and Socialists did a coalition to keep
It was uncomfortable. I remember it didn't look really good.
Oh, the whole thing is crazy. But anyway, I thought it was important that we at least think about it from the show's perspective, and we will continue to do that. We just don't have enough information right now.
Then from the Red Book, it happened much sooner than I expected. We've been talking about the unintended consequences of technology and if this is good or not good. And if you look at the numbers, there was a study that was done where over the past 10 years, most states, the majority of states, the number one occupation is truck driver. And there's a lot of truck drivers. I believe it's in the 60s, maybe 68% of all goods in the United States are transported via trucks.
Right.
And we're all so happy that technology is so wonderful. The first autonomous truck is on the road. Road legal, autonomous big rig is rolling.
Well, it's only road legal in Nevada.
It's a start. It's a start.
And this is the one made by Mercedes-Benz.
Mm-hmm. And along with that comes the second story.
That caught me a little off guard.
Well, now the Germans have big articles, and there's even some protests going on. People are striking.
Well, I would be very leery if I saw one of these things coming down the road, because I'll just predict it straight out. There's going to be sabotage. And it's not going to be pretty when these things start hitting cars and plowing into hospitals and doing whatever.
It's going to be total mayhem. But in Germany, the trend analysis is that robots, that's their words, are set to take away 18 million jobs, 59% of the Germany's workforce by 2030. Hey! Yeah. And we'll have
I believe that to be true.
Yes. You know what we're going towards? I'm going to tell you right now.
We're going to see this lot of sabotage.
We are moving towards we'll call it the concierge economy. And there's going to be an app, because when you can't drive your truck because you're being replaced by a robot, everyone will effectively become a prostitute, but not all for sexual services. It'll be, I need my shoe shine. It'll be, get the Shoe Shine app. Hey, you got to shine my shoe? Everybody will be working for each other. This is what Uber is. This is exactly what's going on. No jobs. You just get an app, and then you
become a barter economy.
Concierge, I think, is nicer. But someone said to me yesterday, at the voodoo doctor's office, my son has the favor app. And what the hell is that? Well, you get a favor, and then you just say, I want this brought to get me a pizza, something like this, and someone from the favor app will do it as a favor.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about hijacking.
Well, it's just like airplanes. You'll be able to.
Well, I think you'd be able to run these trucks off the road and steal from them. They got nobody to report back.
Steal from them. Yes. Let's
carry payloads. That's what the mob used to do. They used to get the guy that got shut up because he'd get killed if he said anything. But now you don't have to worry about threatening anyone. You just run the truck off the road, clip its antenna so it can't report back or what's going on, steal all the stuff in another truck, and drive off.
Yeah.
This whole thing is going to change. It's going to be interesting to watch this transition, but the transition will take place.
Oh, and it will not be pretty.
No,
for a whole bunch of reasons.
It's going to be a lot of death and mayhem.
Being in Texas, I did want to bring up Jade Helm 15 for a moment because this is an interesting psychological operation. We just have a whole bunch of crazy people. We've already been through this. This is martial law, and it's going to be, and Walmart is involved in it. And no. I do have some thoughts on it. And also, Chuck Norris is now being held up as a complete conspiracy theorist, nut job, crazy wing nut.
What did he do?
He wrote an op-ed about it wasn't even about Jade Helm 15 really. It's more about, I guess he represents or he supports Crime Stoppers USA. Are you familiar with this organization? It's pretty big.
I know of it. I don't know. I'm not a member and I haven't followed it, but I do know of it.
It's a very big organization with very little money.
He's got a dog that runs it.
Very little money. And no one makes money off of the foundation except the people who file the 990s. So,
so it's legit.
I think it's legit. And then, so here, Mashable, I'll give you an example. Mashable says, hold on, scrolling up and down. Thank you, Mashable, for having 8 million ads with Flash. And have you tracked me enough, a-holes? Good, I get to disparage you now. Jesus, I can't even get to the top here. The insane Texas conspiracy theory that even has Chuck Norris freaked out.
Ad Block Plus.
Yeah, but I can't do that during the show for a number of reasons. So I actually read his op-ed, and he's there's nothing about Jade Helm until he's talking about Crime Stoppers and kids, and he has all this stuff where inner city kids learn karate and learn discipline and learn to be better citizens. All really nice stuff. He said, I think Chuck Norris is a pretty good guy, but he went from being a hero and an internet meme to now crazy conspiracy theorist. But if you read the article, the op-ed, he's saying, the only thing that I want to point out is the federal government, if they want to do business in Texas and they're doing it on public land, federal land, and some private land, that's okay. We just want to know what you're doing. And he is friends with Abbott. Abbott sits on the Crime Stoppers board with him. That's our new governor. And he says, we should. And the governor sent a note appropriately. Please keep me apprised of what you're doing. Because Jade Helm 15, it's not about the operations, not about, although the armbands is kind of freaky, that are going to be identified by armbands with some cool logo. It's about the size of this. Never before has it been this much personnel that is moving around all these different states. That's the only thing he's really saying, and that it's very appropriate. I agree for the governor to say, hey, what are you doing, federal government? This is, you got military in our state. We want to know what you're doing. I don't think there's anything to all these conspiracy theories. The only thing I can imagine, and I'll just say it, the only thing I can imagine is during this this test, and we know how whenever there's a training or a simulation, bad shit happens, we could see some enormous ISIS event at the Texas border. Which would then it would be handy. Everyone's pre-positioned. They're down at the border. That could happen. There's.
What's the date on this thing? Our nexus for the 6-week cycle is June 1st.
Oh, good question. Let me see if I can find the exact dates. I think it's the summer, July. It starts in July, ends in September. I don't have exact dates.
Okay, well, there'll be another event. Let's see, July 15th. That'll be another point.
And, of course, we've been hearing for months now, more than a year, with the same bogus sheriff. Oh, yeah, they're at the border. We found Muslim clothing and Qurans on the Rio Grande. Yeah. So the setup is there if they want to do this. The setup is definitely there.
It's always possible.
I don't see any anything really sinister about it, other than why if we can mobilize this for a test, why not have them all at the border anyway? If everyone's so pissed off about what's happening at the border.
Yeah, keep them there.
Well, you may see that actually happening.
I have one last clip.
But before that, I want to just finalize on one thing. Something I learned, which there is a lot, I don't know if it's true, but there's a lot of information about it when I went searching for. So having the cool armband for this jade helm, which we've always joked about how the president says heil everybody, and and fashionable things like armbands. Creep me out a little bit. And if you look at the Germans, their fashion sense, the Nazis, was really impeccable. I mean, the colors, the black, the red, the swastika. Although, and this is what I was getting to,
Armani was making a lot of the uniforms.
Was it Armani? I didn't know it was Armani.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, apparently there's a theory out there that they had everything right, but because the swastika is a religious symbol and they turned it upside down, that brought them bad luck, and that's why they lost the war. You have no idea how big this theory is.
Oh, I know this theory. I've heard it before.
I'd never heard it.
Yeah, it's
kooky. It's kooky.
All right. I have one last clip. And this is the one, they can't seem to get this global warming thing. It's like starting an old engine of a Ford Model T, trying to get this thing, get everyone jacked up again.
Mm-hmm.
So they've come up with I have actually a couple of clips. I want to play.
I want to do it. Let's get through it. I like this.
I want to, but so NewsHour makes this report. They do it kind of haphazardly, but they throw this out. And I'm just going, I don't know. I mean, you can't top this one.
Global concentrations of carbon dioxide have reached levels not seen for 2 million years. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said today the monthly average crossed that line in March. It also said concentrations of heat-trapping gas are rising at a record pace.
The science is in.
Science!
This is
2 million years.
2 million years that when they've been taking records.
Apparently.
They went to some ice core or something. I mean, this is bull crap.
Yeah,
2 million years.
This is fantastic. Well, everybody. So it's a new round robin. They got the Pope on board. We knew this Pope would be doing this. Everybody loves this Pope. The gays love the Pope. The warmists love the Pope.
People that don't love the Pope are real dyed-in-the-wool Catholics like Colbert.
What about?
He hates the Pope.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a major Catholic. I mean, he's like, apparently there's a huge contingent. By the way, I've used the word apparently at least a dozen times today.
Okay.
And there's a huge contingency of people that just don't like this guy. They think he's off these.
But the Atlanticists and the elites love him, and this
is a giveaway.
And this is why I chose him as my pick. I'm from the future, but I chose him. No, before you say whatever the case for the 10th time. I didn't say
whatever the case. I said whatever the situation.
He is a Jesuit
may be a bad actor.
Yes, this is what I said from the get-go. We need
I wasn't paying attention.
South American, a Jesuit, bringing in the socialist agenda. I know I sound like a fucking right-wing radio guy, but that's what it is. And I know this.
No, the right-wing radio guys, I don't hear anybody saying bad things about this guy.
Okay, well, I'm saying it, and I know that we do not want to go down this path. I've lived in several socialist countries, and you know what? Everyone's miserable and bored. Miserable and bored, I tell you. Look at the Netherlands. Look at the UK. Miserable and bored. Because and this is where it's going toward. This is your concierge economy. Everyone will get a handout and make a little extra cash by, shine your shoes, clean your house.
The robots taking over. We're stuck with this kind of idea.
Yes. And you know what? You know who loves this Pope?
Obama bots.
Al Gore.
I think that Pope Francis is quite an inspiring figure, really a phenomenon.
Now, recall that he's sending around a chain letter to all of the bishops saying global warming is real.
I've been startled with the clarity of the moral force that he embodies. And, he kind of raises in a new context the old question, is the Pope Catholic? That's a joke.
I'm sorry about the audio. That's a
by the way.
Huh?
A very interesting observation.
Mm-hmm.
That's for many.
Bear would ask, is he Catholic? It doesn't seem like it.
Well, hold on. It gets better, but Gore's almost done.
By the way.
But for many Catholics, that might be true.
Well, I've said publicly in the last year, I was raised in the Southern Baptist tradition, I could become a Catholic because of this Pope. He is that inspiring to me. And I know, the vast majority of my Catholic friends are just thrilled to the marrow of their bones that he is providing this kind of spiritual leadership.
He said he would even consider becoming a Catholic. That's pretty.
Yeah, that means the Pope is more like a Southern Baptist than we think.
Oh yeah. I don't know what we're gonna do, John. I think it's all.
I was watching something. We had to end the show for.
Yeah, we do. We do have to.
I was watching something the other day, and it was just like this. It was just a barrage from no agenda perspectives of just you can't beat it. You can bring up this. I mean, it's just the endless propaganda. It just keeps coming from Hillary and from Bill with his phony baloney excuses and all the corruption that we're seeing. And now Obama just throws in the towel and says, I'm going to start before I quit the presidency and start my foundation on the fly and take some money in from all these big corporations. It really is. It seems kind of disheartening. But if you look at it from a perspective of humor, it's like, wow. And to watch the public just go, okay.
Yeah, it's brazen.
It's hilarious.
It's brazen. I agree. It's brazen. It's fun to watch. And no one's making any problems. No one's making waves, I should say. Making waves. Don't make waves, man. Don't make waves.
Yeah, we just be one of the thugs.
Okay, there's so much that I didn't get to. I have a lot to talk for Sunday, we'll talk about Japan. I got a note from our Duchess over there. We have, Trace Amounts, the movie Trace Amounts. I saw that. We need to talk about that. And autism, this is the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. movie.
Right. We do have to talk about that.
We'll definitely talk about that. And because you have some of the
stuff that's going on. We've pre-discussed a couple of these things, and we got lots to talk about. There was probably a segment that was too long.
Let's deconstruct the show after the show.
Yeah, I can't remember anything.
That's all right.
Doesn't help.
Coming to you from FEMA.
My note-taking stinks. I need to have a list maker.
Coming to you from FEMA Region 6 here in the capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody, I am Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where I'm looking for a list to follow. I'm now scratching off No Agenda Show. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday right here on No Agenda. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA.
ISIS. We will follow them to the gates of hell. ISIS.
Oreos are just as addictive as cocaine.
Murder, government documents. And I walk out and everybody goes, no, the government lies, you're going to die. No, Japanese Japan blowing up the sea. You will line up and they will rope you and your family. Pain, judgment, or GMO, destruction, disease, fire spreading, stench, rotten bodies.
Alex, 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 Alex.
What difference at this point does it make?
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe.
Amen. Fist bump.
Dvorak.org/NA